What was that, Shannon? Happy Whiskey Wednesday, everyone, and happy Cinco de Mayo. So we are not doing whiskey today. Episode 167. We've got some tequila for Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
The Americanized version, which is what I like to call it. And it looks like our video quality is terrible right now, so we're going to check that real quick. How's everyone doing tonight? I want to thank our sponsors. Throw them up here while I try to do this. Several things at once here. We've got Tinderbox at Easton. We have tonight the Oliva V Melanio Maduro, which also features a Mexican San Andres wrapper. So that's why we're doing that in the, again, Americanized version of this. Let's see if this will change it up here.
It just means we have to wait for it to come through on our end.
Yeah, why not? But thank you, Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out for the Oliva V Melanio Maduro. We're going to go over that tonight in part one. And also we have the like I said, the Cabo Wabo. We're going to be drinking tonight the Anejo. So we're going to learn a little bit about what we know, the little bit that we know about tequilas here tonight on the Bourbon and BS podcast. Also, Altadis USA, we have the Romeo y Julieta 1875 Reserve. Oh, it's just 1875. Yeah, we got the Bully tonight. So thank you, Josh Bentley and everyone at Altadis for that and the continued sponsorship. Hoping to get this going for the full next sponsorship year. Been talking with Josh Bentley about that. Looks like the video's getting a little bit better there, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So, yeah, and also BS Cigar Company, we've got the gold and silver. The gold should be fully back in stock here, coming up here shortly at the Tinderbox at Easton. But for now, the Robusto, the 5x52 is available, as well as the silver in the three sizes, the 6x46, the 6x54, and the 6.5x58. So that is fantastic. And then last, but obviously not least, patreon.com/bourbonbs podcast. Shannon had a nice story from his trip to none other than Mexico. This is all flowing together really nicely. I did not go. I was supposed to go. I'm going to go next year. So anyways, in the trip, he lost his wallet in a cab, completely sober, I'm sure. And so, yeah, he had to update all his information. So appreciate that, Shannon, for updating your credit card and the Patreon page.
He just wanted to get in on the next raffle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nate, how you doing this week here?
This week's kind of been a drag. Things still not going great at work. The rain's kind of prevented me from doing some of the morning walks. So, which in hindsight, not necessarily the worst thing, just because I've been able to get a little bit more sleep lately.
Sure.
Just at nights, I just, get home and I feel like I'm just dragging. So, getting a little bit extra hour sleep's kind of been helpful.
Yeah.
So maybe tomorrow I'll get up and go for a walk, get back in that routine. Definitely don't want to get out of the routine.
No,
because
certainly not.
It's easier to get out of the routine than it is to get back in it. So I'd rather avoid that if I could. Today, not only is it Cinco de Mayo, it's also my father-in-law's birthday.
Nice.
He was born on Cinco de Mayo. So happy birthday, John, if you're watching this. And then today,
it's also Bob Crane Day in Westerville, Ohio.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was something. I think we brought it up on here before, and this is something. I'm looking here. Awesome, the connection. That's why it's working like this. But Bob Crane Day in Westerville, Ohio, for all of his activity he did for 30 years with the Rec Baseball League and working with the youth in Westerville. Baseball and softball league. So they did that 3 years ago, I believe. They dedicated May 5th to that, which is, I think, fantastic. So thank you to the city of Westerville, Ohio for that. And it's always a great memory seeing that. He's got a plaque out there at one of the ball diamonds. And, city did that for the town hall meeting or whatever, city hall meeting. They did the whole ceremony. So it was great. Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into this. I'm going to hope this connection gets a little bit better here for the audience at home. Kevin Caldwell says, happy Cinco de Mayo /hump day. Right back at you, man. So, so Cabo Wabo. Did you already pour?
Yeah,
I'm
I've got
ready
some.
for it. Nice. Let's check this out.
So this is apparently one of those spirits that's got a famous name behind it.
Yes. So yeah, it's Sammy Hagar of all. He was looking for, to my knowledge, he was looking for a tequila to kind of have spotlighted at his location down there.
Mhm.
And so he teamed up with a company that has a lot of history. I want to say like 80 plus years, what I read. Yeah. San Nicolas by Campari, Yeah. So Rancho San Nicolas. This is something that we chose the Añejo because I figured at least we'd have a little bit more time in the bourbon barrel. So you were kind of going over this. Ian says, maybe I've had too much tequila already because y'all look fuzzy. We're trying to get the internet connection fixed here, but I don't want to lose it either. So I'm not really sure where to go from here other than hope it strengthens. So hopefully this will get a little bit better.
All of our devices seem to be picking up the signal just fine. It's just the laptop.
Yeah. So we will see. And actually ours, yeah. So we won't have to talk about it much. But let's get into this. You were kind of telling me what you knew about the difference between Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo. We have the Añejo here.
Yeah. So Blanco, that's going to be the tequila you see that is colorless, very clear, no color to it whatsoever. That is basically the finished product, off the still, aged for it's allowed to be aged for up to 60 days, and that's it. So there's no color to it whatsoever. And then Reposado is in a barrel for 60 to 364 days. So 2 months to a year is what it's aged in a barrel. And it can be American oak, it can be European oak, as long as it's one of those two. Sometimes they use used bourbon barrels, or they'll use other barrels to finish and blend it. Then Añejo is going to be 1 to 3 year age in the barrel, and then extra Añejo is going to be more than 3 years in the barrel. So kind of the same thing with some of the terminology with bourbon. Bourbon whiskey, straight bourbon whiskey, bourbon. Gives you an idea as to what the age is on it.
Yeah. So I'm still trying to work on this this connection here. It sucks because it's this type of technology, and it's like our subject tonight is why so serious. I try sometimes this will ruin the night. I'm trying not to let it, because right off the rip, it's like all I want to do is restart the router, but I don't want to lose the whole show here, or at least change from the 5G to the 2.4. But it's like my laptop says we have plenty of signal, and then StreamYard. It might be on StreamYard too, like because see a little symbol right there is a lot lower than what I've got. I don't know, but
it's StreamYard's fault.
It has been in the past.
Yeah,
I always try something different, and it works like this. Yeah. So with the Añejo, like you said, it would be 12 months to what? 24?
Añejo is going to be a year to 3 years.
Year to 3 years.
Yep.
And this one says, it says for 12 months on the bottle. When I was online looking at it, that said 13 months. So it's just hitting that range, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
But according to their website, like the plants that they're using, like they cut them a little thicker.
Okay.
So that way they're trying to get a thicker flavor and a thicker product. Get more flavorful, more bold type of tequila. So I've actually, as much as I've had tequila, I've never had Cabo Wabo.
Yeah.
It's one of those that like, of all tequilas, like you always hear tequila stories. I think we hear more Cabo Wabo tequila stories.
I have not. I'm not going to be the same. I don't know that one. I just know tequila stories. The thing about tequilas for me is that normally it does come at the end of the evening. I've already had like whiskey. I've already had something else. Someone's like, let's do a shot of tequila real quick. I'm like, absolutely. That's a great idea. And then I'm fucked.
Yeah, I did that for a friend's birthday. They were in town and everyone was buying drinks. And I kept wanting to buy her a drink, but everyone kept buying before me. So finally I was like, all right, fine. And I bought a tequila shot, and it was a tequila that's about $55 a bottle. Mm-hmm. So not the cheapest tequila shot, but then
what was it?
I think it was Don Julio,
Okay.
the Blanco. But yeah, she didn't like the fact that I bought her a tequila shot. I'm like, well, this is the only drink I've had tonight, so I'm good.
Who's this girl?
It was
Is this a tequila story?
no, it was a friend of mine from high school.
Okay. Sean's not buying in the audience. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I see that look. It's very judging.
No, it's no one I ever dated. Nor would I.
Okay. All right. Well, don't get insulting. She might be listening. Jesus. She's a nice girl. I don't know. I like tequila. In fact, I know this is the Bourbon and BS podcast, and my normal go-to would be obviously whiskey. But I mean, for me, tequila is something. If you have a nice sipping tequila, it's very refreshing to me, and I feel it's lighter. It's not.
It is.
Because you don't have that corn. I don't think, from what I understand, it could be completely bullshit, but I know that I don't typically feel as like bloated or put on the water weight after drinking tequila instead of
it doesn't have as much sugar.
It makes you lose things, maybe not weight, but according to Ian, makes her clothes fall off, and Shannon helps him lose his wallet. So,
or your driver's license.
That's in the wallet.
No, I meant in a different manner. That's okay.
Damn. Okay. So you don't drink much tequila, correct, Nate?
I not a lot, but I always have a bottle at least at home.
What do you have at home right now?
Cazadores.
Cazadores, yeah.
I do like
Cazadores. What though?
I have the Blanco.
Okay.
Because I
That's
really
a good
do
price whiskey or tequila.
It is
whiskey all night.
Yeah, no, it's about $22.
Mm-hmm. Well, I looked at there, and it was only in like the mid 30s, like low to mid 30s.
Yeah. So just like with any whiskey or bourbon, the longer it ages in a barrel, it's going to be a more expensive product when it comes out. So like the Cazadores Blanco is about a $22 bottle. And you said the Añejo's mid 30s.
Yeah.
Cabo Wabo, their Blanco is like 27, 28 bucks. And then this is $42.98. So $43 in the state of Ohio.
Reposados, typically you're going to find the Reposados, for those that aren't familiar, you're going to find those right there in the middle. It's going to be basically Blanco's the least expensive, Reposado, then Añejo, and then if you can find an extra Añejo, obviously that'll be more. One of my favorites is the Don Julio Añejo. I love that bottle, but it's $60-some.
Yeah. The Don Julio was at 1942. That tall, skinny. Oh, that's over $100. But man, is that a good tequila?
Yeah, Adrian says, who's a friend and he's also a patron. He said, I just rearranged my shelf to start collecting some tequila. Suggestions on good ones. I mean, there's some suggestions for you right there. We're not the tequila experts. I know there's a lot of them out there. I like, for the $30 range, and probably because I'm a fanboy, but I like Terramana, because that's the Rock's new one, and there's the Blanco and the Reposado for $30 each.
Yeah,
it's a solid bottle in my opinion for my limited tequila experience as far as trying different stuff. Like I said, I like the Don Julio Añejo a lot. What else? You said the Cazadores. Casamigos is a popular one. That's the one that Clooney's behind. George Clooney's behind that. And that's kind of in that. It's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive either. It's going to be in that range.
I'm trying to remember what brand it is. The bottles are hand painted Day of the Dead skulls.
Oh yeah.
And but it was really, really good tequila. I'm trying to remember what that was. But no, that one, they have an extra Añejo that is like $200.
Yeah.
But like their Blanco is $50. So it's up there kind of in that Don Julio Patron type of. I think a lot of people that aren't into tequilas, like they start out with something like 1800.
Well, and that's, I don't think 1800 is bad. Like,
no.
As far as, and I looked at that one for Añejo as well.
Yeah. That, a lot of people start out with 1800 just because it's a cheaper one. And then Patron and Don Julio, I think, are just the big name ones that people tend to gravitate towards.
Adrian's got one out there. I don't know if, let me throw it up on the screen here. So if anyone's watching, and guys, I did not share this for those that are listening live, or I didn't share it on the bourbon pages tonight because we aren't doing a bourbon. We're not featuring that. I didn't feel like that was appropriate. I know a lot of the pages.
Thank you,
out there,
Avi. Ka. That was the name of it.
Ka.
K-A-H. Ka. Thank you.
But yeah, so I didn't think that would be appropriate. So if you guys want to share it to any of your pages, please do so we can get some audience out there on the Cinco de Mayo if anyone's not out hammering margarita pictures right now, which is where I might be if I wasn't doing the show. Just saying. I'm not ashamed of that. I might be in the morning, but not right now. Where is it? Adrian.
Is it the top one? Or, that one.
Yeah, is the Cantera. I can't remember the rest of the name. Square bottle any good? Does anyone have any feedback on that? And, Ian says Casamigos Blanco. Class Azul Reposado Tequila. I don't know if that's a joke. He says El Lalo. I don't know what these kids are saying these days. Ian, what are you talking about, man?
Ian's just having fun.
Danos Blanco. Yeah, he might have had too much tequila. Is our picture still blurry to you? Because on everyone else's, it's very crystal clear right now. So if it's still blurry, Ian, you may want to set that bottle back down for a little while, all right? Cinco de Mayo will come around again next year, all right? Have a glass of water, exactly. Not water from Mexico, but
I remember a couple years ago we had the lady from Middle West.
Yeah.
We had her on, and I remember her telling a story. Like, she had a friend that wanted to keep drinking, but also wanted to lose weight. And so they started drinking tequila because it has lower sugar.
Yeah.
They still drink, but felt like, it works in my diet a little better. I think it's just an excuse to keep drinking.
No, it does. I mean, I think the clear spirits in general, right? I mean, vodka's the same way. But I think, tequila is definitely, like, I was talking to a guy in the gym it was a little while ago because it was at Lifetime, as the old gym, but I noticed that he had lost weight, and I think it was after the shutdown and everything like that. And he's like, I switched over to tequila because I wanted to, actually shed some weight. I was drinking too much bourbon, and sure enough, he had definitely lost probably a good 15, 20 pounds, among other things he was doing, but that was a big one. So we may have to rename this to take the Subway diet. Yeah, absolutely. So I did it. So, and hopefully our audio is still good for you guys. I see that the connection is up and down, so you might see some fluttering with the video. So again, not just Ian if it's blurry. He says no. The improvement. Jesus, improvement is gone. See you fine, and then it went blurry again. So Cinco de Mayo. Does anyone else celebrate this? Are we too old for this? Because I'm not.
I was never really one to celebrate it much. Like, I might have a glass of tequila on Cinco de Mayo, but that was about it.
Yeah.
I remember the first year my wife and I hosted Easter at our house. There was a lot more people that showed up than I thought there were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd been drinking a strong beer, and once all of a sudden I see more and more people showing up, I put the beer back in the fridge, grabbed a bottle of tequila, and I actually would go around. Yep, Easter just turned into Cinco de Mayo.
There you go.
Go to the hard stuff.
I love a good margarita. And,
yes.
Yeah, everyone's Blood orange.
Blood orange margarita.
She liked the El Vaquero Texas margarita, Tejas. It's got the Grand Marnier in there and everything like that. Kind of softens it up a little bit. It's not as sweet. It's very, very good. What do we think of this, Nate?
It's very good.
It's a nice change of pace, isn't it?
It is, just because it's light. It's got a crisp, clean finish to it. I don't think with tequilas, because all you have in it is agave. There's no other grains in there. I don't think you get the complexity that you do with a whiskey.
Yeah.
Because with whiskeys, you have different grains, different percentages, different ages and barrels. And you can have the same mash bill, but do it different age barrels, and it's going to taste completely different. Whereas with tequila, it's one ingredient and that's it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's very enjoyable. I think I kept passing this one up because I'd always heard stories about tequila, specifically Cabo Wabo. I was like, maybe
where are these stories coming from? I need to know this. Who are these people?
People I've worked with over the years.
They were in Cabo, or they were drinking Cabo?
Drinking Cabo.
Huh. I played on a softball team. Side note, John Gibson, who's a follower of the podcast as well. So I don't know if he's listening tonight. Probably not. He's probably too deep into a bottle of Cabo. This was his favorite. And so we had a softball team for years. Actually, it was the softball team that kind of evolved from the church league. So oddly enough, we changed it from the Grace Lutheran to the Cabos. And we used the same font, which is oddly enough, that font's called Bleeding Cowboys. And that's if anyone's familiar with some of the merchandise we've had or has been to the Smoking 10 event over the years, the Smoking 10 event font is the same as that, as is Aging Room.
Yes.
Aging Room Cigars uses the same font. It's called Bleeding Cowboys. The only reason I know that is because we did that design with our designer. Cool. But I really enjoy this. This is very refreshing. I don't know, Sean, you're not drinking any of it tonight. Shannon, I know, is sipping on it. It's I don't know. It's not like bourbon, clearly, but it does have a little bit of that oakiness, but it's very faint. Mm-hmm. It's obvious because they say it's the añejo, so it's going to pick up a little bit of that. But it's like a very light. It's like a light whiskey. You know what I mean? It has that almost like an Irish whiskey, but a little bit sweeter than that. I think it's like a lighter version. You sip on it? Yeah.
Well, and typically with blancos, those are going to be blancos and reposados. Those are going to be used primarily in mixed drinks.
And I prefer reposado typically in a lot of those.
Yeah, the añejos or extra añejos, because of their age and their depth of flavor a little bit more, those are typically drank neat. You don't use them too much in
not in cocktails as much. Yeah. But hell, you're using some nicer whiskeys these days, nicer bourbons in some of the cocktails anymore. Some of these mixologists, bartenders, they're using all those different ones. So,
well, and if you remember from that documentary, Neat, there's that one bourbon bar that the guy got a bottle of Pappy 23 and made Jello shots with it.
Made the Jello shots with it. That's fantastic.
It's the most expensive Jello shot, bro.
Yeah, for sure. But so overall, guys, if you guys haven't gotten into tequilas, this is a good one to start with. It's medium price range, in my opinion. Again, at the low 40s, $42, $43. I did see it on online for mid 50s, but again, I guess that's depending on your availability. So I would definitely recommend this. And having this is kind of what a lot of the bourbons we've talked about lately they've done as far as having some of the celebrities behind it. And this is something that, again, Sammy Hagar teamed up with, like a lot of people, with a reputable company, but it's definitely his kind of face is the reputation of this one. So I definitely check it out. Ian says I was at a place that made old fashions from Pappy for $107 a glass.
Ouch. Hey, if you can afford it, fine. If that's what you like, then go for it.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
I think it is. I think it's because this is a tequila because we've talked about it before with some of the bourbons or whiskeys where they get a celebrity behind them, and that seems to drive the price a little bit higher. So I know we had the Heaven's Door on, and those are starting out in the $50 range. But then tequilas, I think because it's easier to make, and it's only one ingredient, doesn't have to age like a bourbon does. I think that's why you see celebrity branded tequilas, more in that $30 to $50 range, primarily. Like you said, the Rocks is coming in somewhere in the 30s.
Yeah, here in Ohio, the Terramana, both the Blanco and Reposado is $29.99 as of now. And I think he is working on as well. So one that they went all out, and I think he bought a factory and like the whole deal. Yeah, he's got the money.
Well, yeah, I think so.
He's got the money.
He's doing all right. It's one of those things where you're like, does he really need to? Like, he's fine without it. Does he need to buy a distillery? Like,
yeah. Why not? I say, why not? So going on to the cigar, and again, as you can tell, we're not really experts on the tequilas, but I'm enjoying it. The cigar is something that was a follow-up release to the Oliva Serie V Melanio, which had a lot of good press since it came out in the early 2010s. So I want to say 2011 or so came out, and it was extremely popular. I know Cigar Snob had Melanio, the original Melanio, as the 2012 cigar of the year, and then 2014 Aficionado had it as the cigar of the year. This was a follow-up around that time, I believe, and they took Nicaraguan filler and binder, and I don't think it's the same filler binder combo as the original Melanio, but this was the follow-up release. It's still box press, comes in the same vitolas as the original Melanio, and this has a San Andreas Mexican wrapper on it, so it's going to be a little hardier. And this one is something that I know sells very, very well, a lot of accounts, but it never compared to, I think, the volume as the original Melanio. The Melanio just had way too much, and I think it was an Ecuadorian wrapper on it, Sumatra wrapper on that one, and it was more medium bodied. It wasn't as bold as this one. So this one is definitely going to be something that isn't for everyone.
Yeah,
like the Melanio is.
Mm. It is the Maduro more of a limited release though?
I think originally it may have been, but it's not. The Maduro for the original Oliva Serie V is a limited release that is now a more regular production cigar. They did that one. Is that what you're thinking of? They did the original, the V Maduro.
Which no, I'm thinking the Melanio Maduro.
I don't think so.
Because
this is readily available.
Yeah, because I know the V Maduro they've moved to more regular production. Mm-hmm. It was limited. Like every year, it would only come out in one size, and they would only do like 10,000 boxes or whatever. But no, so the Melanio Maduro though is a regular production.
Yeah, to my knowledge, it is.
Okay, because man, I know when the tinderbox gets them, they don't seem to last very long, and then it seems like forever before they come back in. So that's why I thought maybe it was.
We don't have the demand for them.
Oh, well, that's. Yeah. I enjoy them. I know I've got one or two sitting in my humidor that have been there for about a year, maybe a little bit more.
If you smoked them, you buy more.
What?
See, there you go.
No, so I'll age one and then
Just
buy
kidding.
some to smoke then.
Totally kidding. Totally kidding.
I still bought that one.
I really have enjoyed this one. It was interesting timing when this one first came out, at least in the tinderbox. And I don't know if you guys who smoked this from the very beginning, and you may have had a similar experience. People get these cigars and they land around the same time. If there's any similarities to another cigar, one will win out. And the Melanio won out over this one, first of all, which was the original. We talked about that recently with the Laranja with Tyler on here. Mm-hmm. The Oscuro did not do well right off the rip because people were comparing it to the original Laranja. This one came in at the same time as the at the time was Padilla, Ernesto Padilla, the vintage. They both landed around the same exact time. At that time, if I'm not mistaken, Oliva was distributing the Padilla line. So they came in at the same time, and a lot of our customers smoked both of them. And it was like, I like the Melanio Maduro better. And it just shoved out the Padilla vintage, which had a Pennsylvania broadleaf wrapper leaf. So it's definitely a different flavor profile. But it's interesting. That's still a memory that comes up in my mind when it comes to the cigar, because this one did well for a while for us because of that. But I really do enjoy this flavor profile.
So why do you think at the tinderbox, like, because I look at who some of the regulars are and what they like to smoke. I would think this would be more up their alley for a lot of the guys. Why doesn't it seem to?
The only thing I'll say about this one, I think it has a little bit of what used to be, in my opinion, the stereotypical San Andreas wrapper. There's this little bit of, and it's a hint, so I don't want to turn anyone off on it because I really do like the cigar, but it's a hint of a kind of a brash bitterness, and it's just a hint of it at the very finish of the cigar. It's a little bit of dryness. It's not the most velvety, smooth type of a cigar that's going to keep you going back for another hit, is what I think. What do you think?
I almost liken it to a really high percentage dark chocolate. Mm-hmm. It just it has that bitterness at the back end of it. It's not as sweet, not as smooth. That kind of reminds me. It almost has what you've talked about before with some of the San Andreas that we've had. It wants to kind of dry out your palate a little bit.
It's getting there though with this one.
I think it takes a little bit longer than some of the San Andreas that I've had in the past. But I think this one's got a good enough richness to the flavor that it may not dry out the palate right away.
Yeah.
Definitely beneficial to drink when you're smoking this cigar. Maybe that'll delay the dryness a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that San Andreas Mexican wrapper on there, and then also, like I said, the Nicaraguan filler and binder. Oliva is a fantastic company, one of my favorites. I think they do great work. They've been able to, I think, bump up a lot of production since they were acquired. They kind of got acquired by Cortez, I believe it is. That's now going back 4 or 5 years. But that was a Belgian company that bought them out and let them kind of keep running the show. And they just basically gave them, kind of like Drew Estate with Swisher, just gave them a bigger checkbook and more support and gave them more ability to kind of get through everything and expand. And I think they've done a great job with it. I'm still waiting on Oliva to release some more new blends.
Yeah.
Which they haven't yet in a while.
Do you think in the years that this cigar has been out, do you think this cigar's gotten better? And the reason I
better
asked,
how?
Well, the reason I asked that is I think Mexican tobacco for a while just had a particular reputation about it, that it just wasn't as good, wasn't as smooth, didn't have the flavor as, say, Nicaraguan or Honduran tobacco. But I think what we've seen in the last 10 years is some of the big names in the industry actually start caring a little bit and putting some effort and some work into cultivating that tobacco and making it better. And so I'm wondering, like, because we've seen a vast change in the industry with San Andreas wrapper cigars.
Yeah.
Like, nowadays it's like, oh, San Andreas, let me try it. Like, I definitely want to try it because we've had some really good San Andreas cigars. And so I think the tobacco has gotten better over time. So I'm wondering if this cigar has actually gotten better now versus when it was initially released.
I mean, it could have. I don't know that. That's interesting. I don't know what the age is on the wrapper leaf. So that would obviously have something to do with it as well. I don't know that. I wish we had Lee, or I know Josh Bentley, who's with Altidus. He was with Oliva for some time. They may have the answer to that. But that would be something that we could always post to them and see if they can give us an answer on the community page, Bourbon and BS community page on Facebook. I would just say with this one, anymore, when you're looking at a Maduro wrapper, a lot of times it's either going to be a San Andreas or it's going to be a broadleaf of some sort. And so I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're right. There's been more focus on that region and that wrapper leaf. But
lately, we've had a couple of Brazilian Maduros on.
Brazilian's gonna be the next one. Yeah, I'd say that's the top 3 as far as the Maduro wrappers used mostly today.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know if it's gotten better or worse. This this is what I always think of when I think of the Melanio Maduro from Oliva. I think this is a good, just solid cigar. I think the Melanio anymore, when I go back to it, I think it's a fantastic cigar as well. I just don't. It doesn't do it as much for me as it used to.
This or the regular Melanio?
The regular Melanio. Yeah. I think it's a great cigar. I think it's due all the praises it had when it first came out. But anymore, I think I don't want to say it gets lost in the shuffle, but it's a solid cigar that just doesn't. It's not as a standout as it once was, because I think it made some waves. So that's a compliment to it as well. So this one might be the same for a lot of people.
Do you think if Oliva came out with some new products, like, it might pull people back towards the Melanio or even the Melanio Maduro a little bit?
Maybe. I don't think Oliva needs a whole lot of help there. I mean, between the V, the original V is my favorite coming out of the Oliva camp for sure. That the original Oliva V, and for some reason the size and shape of cigar of the Figurado is my favorite tasting one. Something about that at the end of it, when the transitions it goes for, it tastes just a little bit better than the regular Oliva V. This one, the Maduro, this is one that I'd say I have to get past, like maybe a lot of people, that you called it the Melanio. The Melanio Maduro. So I can't, I wish I had the answer. I should have looked it up. And so I apologize to all you guys out there. I don't know if they kind of kept with the same core underneath that wrapper. I don't think they did. But if they did, it'd be very impressive that you were able to kind of blend the cigar with just another wrapper leaf. But calling it Melanio, I think you're riding off the coattails of the success of the original Melanio. And this could have been the Oliva, whatever, new Siri, whatever. You know what I mean? Like they already did it once with this Series V,
the S,
and then they came out with
Oliva
the Series
S.
V Melanio, and we had to teach everyone as as parts of the business. We had to research it or smoke it. You're like, this doesn't taste anything. Is this the same kind of blend as the V? Like, no, it's completely different. Then why is it the Series V Melanio?
Yeah.
And then you do this one, it's another blend. It's like, this is not the Series V. It's also not the Melanio. This is the Maduro of the Melanio of the Series V. You're like, so there's no relation at all. But you're telling me that you're going to have the same bands and names and all of these things, but they're not the same cigar at all. Yes.
That secondary band, they just kind of inverse the colors of the regular Melanio.
I might just be offended that I'm not smart enough to follow that train of logic, which is very, very doable.
No, you explained it very well.
Flow chart, and they all just start in different areas of said flow chart, and then nothing is connected. So how are they similar? They're cigars. They're made by Oliva with tobacco. Yeah, and you smoke them.
They're all under the same umbrella.
Just like the lines on the flow chart are just kind of going off into the distance, and they kind of get really close to the next bubble, but then they never touch it. Like, so is that where it connects? No, it never does. Look with one eye after some tequila. Perfect.
Ian.
Like a 3 picture shot. Like mall rats. Yeah. A schooner is a sailboat. What does he call the little kid? He just yells in that little kid's face. Yeah. It's not a schooner. It's a sailboat. You dumb bastard. I just think that's what he says. It's good. Yeah, it was. Come a long way. Oh, there you go. Starting to loosen up a little bit on the Cinco de Mayo.
What do you guys think of this cigar?
I was one of my favorites.
You guys can grab the mic. There's a mic back there. So, well, the rest of the audience can't hear you. Sean, what you got?
This has always been one of my favorites. Anytime there's like an opportunity to get one, like if I'm out and I just happen to see it, it's one of my go-tos. I love it. I love the retro hail. I love the, I don't mind it. I know what Steve was mentioning, it being dry stuff. I just don't get it. But I really enjoy it. So I know, Kyle, turned me on to it last year, and it's been one of my favorites ever since. So
nice. Shannon, you got anything? Nope. Okay.
Shannon's not here.
Just leave the mic back there between the two of you.
All right. So overall, let's see where we're at here. We might as well just jump right into this.
Ratings.
Let's do the ratings. And again, to those watching the video, I don't know what's going on. I see it up on the screen. The connection keeps going poor, and then it'll start building back up. So I don't know if it's the router, if it's the area, something's going on. Maybe it's Cinco de Mayo.
Even the router is getting drunk.
Too much sour mix in the lines. So Nate, yeah, whiskey tonight, tequila out of 10, cigar out of 10, and the pairing out of 10.
So I'm gonna give the tequila. I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it's a solid bottle. It's got good flavor to it. Not overly complex, but it's very smooth, very easy to drink, very approachable, especially to someone who may not necessarily be into tequilas very much. I think this would be a pretty good añejo to pick up and try.
Yeah.
I don't think $43 is too much to ask for a bottle of it, especially when you got guys that are willing to drop that or twice that on a bottle of whiskey. Like, no, this is it's a good bottle, and you could do a lot with it. I mean, if you want to, you could drink it neat. You could experiment with it, make cocktails, and see how it turns out. But I think it's just a solid drink. For the cigar, I'm an 8 on the cigar as well.
Yeah.
Really good. I agree with what you were saying earlier. Like, I think I do, even though I like the richness of this cigar and the heavier spice on the retrohale, I think I like the original Melanio a little bit more. It's a little bit more approachable to people and being medium body. I just think the flavor has more layers to it than what this one does. This one's just going to be medium to full. It's got a little bit of richness to it, but not necessarily a full flavor cigar. It does have that little dryness, that little bitterness to the finish of it. But it's definitely a cigar worth getting if you like that medium to full. I think it's a really good example of where San Andreas tobacco has come in the last decade or so. Because I do think it is a very enjoyable San Andreas wrapper. I think it has a good flavor to it.
Yeah.
May not be best one I've had, but it's very, very good. As far as the pairing, 7 on the pairing.
Why is that?
I don't think the tequila has enough richness and depth to really hold up to this cigar. I think the cigar kind of overpowers it a little bit. I do think the tequila does provide a little bit of sweetness that this cigar is lacking, but the cigar does kind of dry out your mouth a little bit. That tequila has a really hard time to overcome.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that pairing. So the tequila rating tonight, I think for the price of just over $40, I really enjoy this flavor. It's very, as I said, almost, and I do have a drinking problem at times, but I'm gonna throw that up there. Please drink responsibly. That's good, especially on Cinco de Mayo. But this is actually a refreshing, and this would be something that if I threw an ice cube in it, just one, it would be a hot summer day. Yeah, I could drink this. Don't even need a cocktail. Don't need any mixers. I don't need any juice in there or anything like that. This is something that I would think that I was getting hydrated and then just absolutely get wrecked. Because I'd be sweating my ass off and be like, this is great.
I say that.
Does anyone want to get in the water? Like, Steve, here in your backyard. Like, I thought I was at the beach. Someone changed the music. Yeah, I could see that. Oh, like a mirage in the desert. So that being said, I give it a I don't know, 8.5, 9. I think this is for the price.
Okay.
You know, again, and I don't have as much experience with the tequilas, but this is something that I would absolutely recommend doing a $40 bottle.
What about comparing it to the Terramana?
Terramana,
I know you really enjoy the Terramana.
I do, but again, you don't have as much age on theirs.
True.
So,
like even the Reposado compared to this Añejo, because this Añejo is only 12 to 13 months, so it's just qualifying as an Añejo, whereas the Terramana could be anywhere from 2 to 12 months. I mean, so one could be 11 months, this one could be 12.
This has a little bit, and maybe it is just because I know it's Añejo, this has a little bit more depth, maybe from sitting in the barrels longer. I think that this one is going to be, the Terramana is a little not sweeter. I'm trying to remember, like the Reposado Terramana, it was very good, but it was almost gave more of a tart feeling when I was sipping on it.
Okay.
That one I really do like just with like an ice cube or two. Even on the rocks, I'll drink like Terramana again for $30. It's tough for me to find a whiskey that I find is refreshing just to sip on as the Terramana Reposado or a lot of the tequilas. And again, I think it's just a cleaner, easier drink. But again, you're not going to get as much depth as you do with some bourbons. Mm-hmm. So the cigar, I'm going to give an 8 as well. I think the cigar is very, very good. I do think, and maybe, with what you were saying, I was already kind of thinking, going back and forth and talking about the pairing, being not as good or strong as some. This cigar is not as meant, in my opinion, for a tequila. We simply did it based on the Mexican theme as far as Cinco de Mayo. The cigar by itself is it's very enjoyable. It does have a little bit of that kind of coffee chocolate hints as far as that goes, but it does have a little bit of the someone was talking about the higher acidity. Black coffees kind of has more bitterness to it, and I think that's where we're at with this cigar. And so, like to your point, Nate, I don't think as far as the San Andreas blends that are out there right now, that's a like the Espinosa Murcielago. That one I think it balances some of the filler maybe with it better than this does, so that it doesn't get overpowered by the wrapper leaf, possibly. So not just to compare and contrast, but that's an example. So I give this cigar an 8. The pairing, I'm with you. I think it's a 7. I think the pairing, it's fine. But again, I think you're kind of in two different realms here with the cigar and the tequila.
Do you think a lighter cigar would have gone better with this tequila?
Yes. I think, for example, I think the Oliva V Melanio would go better. Just the regular Melanio, I think, would have gone better with this because it doesn't have that bitterness at the end of it. So that's not going to be complimentary, in my opinion. But again, they both stand up. It's not overpowering. You're going through two different flavors. You know, two different ways that it's hitting your palate is the tequila, and then you take a smoke. Smoke's good. The tequila's good. You go back and forth, and basically you're having two different courses of a meal. Yeah, you're having two different courses of a meal altogether. Yeah. So you're having the appetizer, and then you're eating the entree, and then you're going back to the appetizer. You're like, well, they're both very good, but it was not supposed to go back and forth.
Yeah, I got you.
So, yeah, guys, check it out. Happy Cinco de Mayo. The topic tonight is going to be why so serious, which I think will be perfect for Cinco de Mayo and drinking tequila tonight. So I want to thank our sponsors, Tinderbox at Easton, Altadis USA, BS Cigar Company, Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out for the Oliva V Melanio Maduro, and then also Altadis. We've got the 1875 Romeo y Julieta Bully size, which is one of the, I think, if not the best selling SKU for them, but it is one of the most famous ones for them. So thank you, Josh, and everyone else at Altadis for the support continuously. And also BS Cigar Company for the gold and the silver. Check those out through the other sponsor, Tinderbox at Easton, or contact them directly. I know we just shipped some from Tinderbox to Massachusetts to go overseas to one of our supporters, Honor. So thank you for that. And then also Mike Fiamingo's out in Hawaii, and he actually just ordered some. So we shipped some of the silvers out to him. He loves those. And he contacted us today and just let us know that they're still smoking very, very well, and to thank you for the shipment. So thank you guys for the support. And then also patreon.com/bourbon and BS podcast. You guys are amazing. We've got another raffle tonight. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
We've got a Trinidad Espiritu,
the Domino set,
Series number 1 Domino set, and a Warhawk Henry Clay bottle opener here as well. So we'll pick those off of Shannon's got his eyes on that since he updated his Patreon information. So we'll do that in the intermission, guys. Go ahead and please share it to any of your pages. Like I said, I did not share this to the bourbon ones tonight since we're doing a tequila. But if you guys think it's appropriate to share to some of your friends, family, or other groups you're a part of, definitely do that for part 2. And stay tuned. For those that are listening on the audio, make sure you guys check out part 2 to hear about why so serious. Cheers.
Cheers.
Nice. Does anyone want to join us tonight, or are you guys just chilling in the background? Shannon, you on? We can belly up for 4 if we want to really make a mess of these things tonight. All right, let's do the Patreon thing while we do this. All right, we're going to get Shannon on here. So while you guys set that up, I'm going to try not to spill my booze this week. Best I can. I'm going to pull up the Patreon thing. So anyone out there listening right now, if you're not a patron right now, that we appreciate the support listening. If you want to contribute monthly or just once, we have a $5 tier, $10 tier, and $20 tier, $25 tier. And that's a way for you to get a part of the raffle as soon as we get some more merch and everything like that. As we expand, this is going to be something that you guys will be able to be a part of. So pull up the current list of current patrons.
Is it 21?
22.
Oh.
Probably Shannon again.
Shannon's on there twice.
Shannon's not on there twice.
All right.
Johnny Harris says, happy Cinco de Mayo. Happy Cinco de Mayo, Johnny, and everyone else out there. Ian says he needs more BS cigars.
Yeah, because he had said, I need more of those. And I was like, the Dominoes or the bottle opener? Oh, the cigars. My bad.
All right. Making some room here. Let's do this.
Can I pick
All right.
Can I pick the number this week?
If you want to. Or how about
Sean? No.
I was gonna say let's have Ian do it.
Okay.
Ian, if you're out there, I assume still. So Ian Anderson, I'm gonna need a number because he's also 1 and 22. It can be 1, it can be 22, or anywhere in between. So Ian, go ahead and throw that on the feed here for us, if you would.
I didn't show the domino set, but anyone who didn't listen a few weeks ago when we did, so there's the Trinidad domino set. And then you got the metal.
See, Ray says now it's a show worth watching, which you should take as a compliment, but I take it a little bit.
17, he says.
17.
Yeah, when the three of us are up here, it's like the progression of a beard, like Steve, then Shannon, and me.
17 here. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is Jonathan Herring. Jonathan Herring is he's with Forged now. He was with General before, which now he's with a sister company, and but he moved from Kentucky down to Texas.
Yeah.
So we have to ship it down. He has been a $20 custom, became a patron back in February of 2020. So over a year of doing $20 a month. So Jonathan, thank you very much for all the support. And we actually have him coming up, not to the garage, but he's coming on with who is it?
Diesel.
Yeah.
Justin or something? Or
yeah. Pull that up here.
He already have too much swag.
He
does. Justin, that's right. Justin from Diesel Cigars. So we're going to be featuring him in 2 weeks on the 19th. So was hoping that he would be here, but now I have to mail something to him, which is fine. So yeah, like I said, I know he's part of the industry, and I will let him. I know he's not listening tonight, but if he forgoes his prize, we'll do another drawing on the community page. How about that? I'll give it up to him to whether or not he wants the Trinidad and the Warhawk.
Okay.
Because you're right, he does have a lot of swag.
Well,
and Ian knows him, I think, so he says,
yeah,
make sure he knows I pulled his number. I absolutely will.
So I know. So Jonathan works for Forge, which is now a subsidiary of General,
sister company.
Company.
It's under the same parent company, but General Cigars and Forged are two separate entities as far as we know. So
General CAO came out with the Bones last year, and that's obviously playing theme 2 dominoes,
right?
So did Ricky do a domino set for that cigar?
He did some domino tables for certain lounges, I think, but okay. I don't know if he did a domino set. I'm sure he did. Each of the boxes came with, because it was also known for dice.
Yeah, there's
came
2.
with a pair of die. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So here we go. Why so serious? Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 167, part 2. Why so serious? Want to thank our patrons on patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast. We just did another drawing, and it went to Jonathan Herring, who's also with Forged and Forged Cigar. That's a newer company that we were just discussing off kind of in the intermission, but they have some great brands. We had our Forged rep in not too long ago, a couple days ago, Cameron, and he dropped off some great new products from both Diesel and what was the other one? That new Medio Tiempo from La Gloria Cubana, which are 2 of their lines. So yeah, check them out. And thank you, Jonathan. He's been a $20 a month patron for over a year, so that was greatly appreciated. It's definitely helped us keep this thing going, so thank you guys. If you're not on it already, he won the bottle opener from Henry Clay Warhawk, as well as the domino set from Trinidad Espiritu Series number 1. So thank you very much, and congratulations to you. Also, Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio, they have the Oliva V Melanio Maduro. We had them had that cigar on for the first part. We reviewed that one along with the Cabo Wabo Anejo. So thank you, Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Check them out. They've also got the BS Cigar Company, which is going to be our other sponsor here. The gold and silver. The gold is still in stock, and the Robusto, soon to be hopefully filled with the Toro and also the 7x58. That's all Plasencia tobacco, all Nicaraguan tobacco. So thank you very much, Plasencia, for the great blend. And then also the silver, which is La Zona, which is Espinosa. And that's in stock right now, the Tinderbox at Easton as well. And also Altadis USA, we got the Romeo y Julieta 1875 Bully on deck for part 2. They've been a great supporter. Every week they have the second featured cigar and also the continued support, which is why we have their banner behind us with the great brands like Romeo y Julieta, Monte Cristo, H. Upman, and they've got countless others. So thank you very much, all you guys. And tonight we're going to be talking about why so serious. I personally think that I am one that has been kind of, I succumbed to it over the last year and a half now. Shoot, I mean, we're going on to a long time where it's just it beat me down, and got to the point where I was taking a lot of things very seriously, which is not always a bad thing. I mean, there was obviously some serious stuff going on. There always is serious things in life, but there's got to be, hopefully, before you get to that breaking point, that you don't really take it as seriously. You can use it as motivation. You can have this kind of serious tone to your efforts and your day to day and all that stuff. But I know that, Shannon, you just came back from vacation to Mexico, of all things. So happy Cinco de Mayo with everything with that. This, again, continuing theme here. You need that vacation. You need something to look forward to, but you shouldn't have to wait to a breaking point, or you shouldn't have to wait until I've got a vacation coming up in 4 months, and I just got to make it to that. If that day to day is just beating you down, I think there's got to be something that you can do, at least to. I mean, people have hobbies, people have these escapes and everything like that, but I mean, how have you guys been doing with this stuff? Because I know that I've been struggling, and recently I just kind of came to it, and I'm going to slip back into it, but I mean, I definitely did not feel like myself after a period of time. And I think I've finally kind of gotten back to the point where I'm starting to see a little bit of my normal, relaxed self coming back out, whether or not you guys can see it, but that's why I feel. Might be the tequila.
For me, I don't know. I don't think I really got too deep into the seriousness of everything. I kind of stayed chilled and relaxed, and it was a serious thing going on, but I just didn't take it too personal or too serious. I tried to laugh a lot, hung out with the wife a lot, and we just kind of rolled with the punches, man. We didn't let the outside world creep into our world, and it's kind of worked out pretty well for us. So, yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, we kind of said to each other in the beginning during the shutdown itself that we weren't going to let it take over our lives and like dictate what we were going to do and where we were going to go and all that kind of good stuff. So
that's good. I remember, what'd you guys do? Did you do anything for Cinco de Mayo last year? Because I mean, you couldn't go anywhere really.
I
Some
think
of the carryout places, I think, it started picking back up.
Oh, actually, yes, I had a memory pop up.
Yeah.
I went down and stood in a line for an hour and a half at Blue Agave in New Albany, trying to get a to-go meal with 2 margaritas. It was insane, but it was fun.
How about you, Nate? You said you don't really celebrate Cinco de Mayo much, but you didn't do anything.
No.
Yeah.
My wife and I don't do a whole lot for some of the smaller holidays.
Drinking holidays.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I've never really done much for Patty's Day either.
Missing out. You are missing out.
Am I?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing out on being sick.
Yeah, the non-serious part is a lot of fun.
No, I mean, I think twice I've gone out and actually done something on Patty's Day. Obviously with Cinco de Mayo, like I avoid Mexican restaurants for dinner on Cinco de Mayo just because I know everyone's going to be there and it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. I can see that.
I mean, I'd rather go to Fido. I'd rather go to an Irish pub on Cinco de Mayo because that's when it's not going to be as busy. But no, I mean, last year, like when the shutdown and stuff happened, that Shannon was talking about, like, for us, we were just, we were both working still. So we didn't have that stress of losing a job or not having an income. Wasn't working at the shop, obviously, but, we still had our primary jobs. We were just doing them at home more. That made it feel more casual, even though we were both doing business as usual. It just made it feel more relaxed. We were just rolling with it, doing the best that we could. And it wasn't really an interruption so much in our lives. So it didn't have that stressor for us that it did for some people. Some people, the shutdown obviously became a big stressor for them. And so things did become serious. So not making light of that for anyone who actually had suffered through it. But for us, it really didn't change anything. So it just kind of helped us relax a little bit.
Yeah. We talked about it so much. I think just like every other podcast that I've listened to over the last year, there was just there's just this, it kept building and building there. And then you saw it in people that you talked to when people got back out and about and you got around them. If you did, some people didn't yet still, and then there was this different aura around a lot of people. And you look through the social media, you look at the media, and it's like, there's just this like constant thing still being fed out there. And it's just that real serious negative thing. And now it's still, I was watching the news tonight, between work, the gym, and the podcast, I was watching the news tonight, and it's just still the same stuff. It's very, very serious. Like the nightly news doesn't make you feel good.
It's depressing.
Yeah. And I was actually,
I don't watch it.
I was already, but see, I've heard that from a lot of people that are not watching it anymore. I mean, they really are. They just stopped. And I slowed down a little bit, but then I'm like seeing the alerts and stuff. Like I still want to know what's going on. But it's just you get inundated with it, and it breaks people down. And that's where this whole thing, why so serious, is that you need to have something uplifting. But then I got in the point where tonight I'm watching, and then there was a story about a chicken that got into the neighbor's yard. It almost pissed me off that you go from the vaccine talk to a shooting on the south side of Columbus to they were just all the puns.
And
all
breaking
the
news.
puns.
Breaking news. Chicken loose.
It's goddamn puns about pecking and
Cock of the walk.
oh my God. And they were saying it with a serious face. And then they kind of almost smiled and they didn't. And I was just like, now you're really pissing me off. Because you're talking about something not serious. You're talking about it in a serious manner. What do you guys do though? I mean, people, for me, try to work out, try to get the stress reliever. I try to do all that stuff. I started listening to podcasts. I know a lot of people watch either sitcoms or something like that, but you got to have something that's going to break it up for you. Something that so I listen to Bill Burr podcast. I talk about that. I've been showing Nate quite a bit about that because there's always a highlight every, either Monday, it's Monday morning podcast, and he does it on Thursday as well. And I just stumbled into it. I know it's been out for 10 years. He's been doing this almost or whatever it is, but I just started listening to it, and I'll listen to it on one of my walks. I'll listen to it as I'm getting ready, and it's just, I'm loving it.
Well, I'll go off a little topic here. So I was in Cancun here a few weeks ago, and as we alluded to earlier, I left my wallet in a taxi the second day there.
I didn't know it was the second day.
It was the second day. So we got in on Thursday, hung out Friday. We hit it kind of hard at the pool and had dinner that night. And we're all sitting around this little lounge area overlooking the resort. And Andy Kuchar, he was like,
"Yep, friend of ours.
Let's go downtown." We're all like, "Yes." So we all loaded up in taxis and went downtown, partied, and there was a lot of tequila involved. I think when the bill came, it was 27 shots, 3 buckets of beer, and
how many people?
There's 10 of us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
better than what I thought.
It breaks down nicely, but yeah, it was when
Maybe
you go
I'm
from
happy
the.
I didn't make that trip. I don't know what
When you
I
go
would
So what
the-
you're saying is you would not have been drinking responsibly.
not an all inclusive.
Well, when you go from the resort, when they kind of water the shit down a little bit, and you go out and you're actually having real drinks, it. So we partied all night. And then on the way back to the resort, we're in this taxi and I'm sitting in the front seat We get back to the resort. I remember pulling out my wallet to show the guard to get in. And then they always want to put hand sanitizer in your hand. So I think I took my wallet and stuck it between my legs.
Yep.
And I put my hands out, and I must have just whatever happened at that point. But I didn't realize it was gone until halfway through the next day. And
I would have lost my shit. I would have been panicking. I would have been like, I got to cancel stuff right now.
So I went down to because I went up to the room to get cigars out of the locker or the little safe we have in there. I started moving shit around. I was like, wait a minute, there's no wallet in here. And then I checked my pants, and I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So by the time I got down to the concierge to see if I dropped it outside and somebody picked it up, they were going to check the cameras. As I was walking away from the pool, or the concierge back to the pool, my phone starts lighting up with charges and credit card. I was like, oh, shit. So all hell broke loose. Got everything shut down. And at that point, I could have freaked out. I could have lost my shit. I walked back to the pool, looked at my wife. I was like, hey, it's whatever's done is done. I got it shut down. The trip's paid for. We had a boatload of cash on hand. This party, it didn't
Make
even.
the best of it, right?
Yeah, it wasn't even a blip on the screen after I got the card shut down, and they said they'd take care of it. Never thought about it again until we got back here and had to get new cards and license and all that. But that could have been could have
ruined your trip.
It could have ruined the trip 100%. But I've told myself years ago, I'm not going to let trivial shit affect how I'm going to take my day. Or
did it used to?
Oh yeah, I used to let little shit like this tear me apart.
What was the switch? What caused that switch to flip? Was there something specific, or just a realization that you had?
Just kind of like figuring out what makes me tick and what my triggers were. And I used to let the littlest things just tear me apart and beat me up, and I would take it out on people. But I just kind of learned over time those little things are just little things. And I don't know, just once I was able to work that out of my system and learn how to live with life with the little things are just small things. They're just little bumps in the road that the cards are going to be taken care of. They were going to they're going to put all the money that was taken out back into my account. So there was really no stress involved with it. It was just, I'm at a pool. I'm in Cancun. I'm with a bunch of my friends, drinking, having a good time, getting my ass burned up by the sun. There was no problems at that point. You know what I mean? It was just, we're here. We'll get back to the States. I still had our passports, so we were good.
Yeah, I put it on the description here. If you can't find the positive in something, sometimes you may need to switch your point of view. And then I also put in, which I think is also breeding a lot of what's going on right now, or like I feel like we're coming out in this back to the norm or whatever, which is not quite the same as, the saying of, if you don't have something nice to say, then don't say anything at all. I think those 2 points, I mean, you really have to do what you did, which is change your perspective. Because if you're only focused on that negative, whatever that is, losing the wallet, I mean, now you ruin the entire vacation.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very, I don't want to say just mature, but a very unique perspective that a lot of people can't do.
It's like a street level view and then a mountaintop.
No,
view.
If I'm being totally honest here, now when we got to Cancun, No, I didn't break anything. I brought a gang of cigars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we were packing up, I gave them to my wife to put in the check-in. Well, somewhere in the packing, she ended up putting them back in my carry-on. So when we got to the hotel, we were unpacking everything. We're going through the suitcase, and I thought TSA or somebody took all my cigars.
That's what pissed you off.
That pissed me off. Literally, you can ask my wife. I went over and I sat on the couch in the hotel. Sat there for probably 30 minutes and didn't say a word.
No way.
I did, dude. I was thinking about all the cigars, all the fun I was going to have with them. That shit took me to another level. And I processed it.
Priorities, man. Priorities. Yeah.
I sat there and I processed it. And she was like unpacking and doing her thing. And then she's like, "Are you good?" I was like, "Yeah, I worked it out. Let's do it." And then we came back later that evening and I opened up my bag and they were stuffed in the bottom of the
Come on.
underneath the shoes.
Did someone else let you bum a cigar?
No, after that, it was good.
No, no, but before that, you said, or you not have
Nobody
any
else had
time?
cigars. No, I was the only one that brought cigars down there, so I had like 16 or 18 with me.
Yeah.
But once we found those, I was like, Jesus, right? She looked at me. She just gave me that look. I was like,
It's like, nope, I'm good now. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up.
But
Let's
that-
not go back to where I was.
But
Keep
that
moving forward.
moment, I just felt like somebody stole, like you know, you always hear the stories about people stealing shit out of your bags and
Oh yeah.
and I was like, are you serious? Like, I brought all these cigars to kick it by the beach and blah blah blah. The wallet didn't piss me off. The cigar sent me to the next level.
Again, priorities.
I think
right?
I like that. I think I like that because you're gonna be pissed off. Yeah, you might as well be pissed off at something worthwhile, like cigars. Let's see. Ian says something on there. Hell, man, in the grand scheme of things, most things we think are big are really little as well. And then he follows it up with, because you got to remember, it's the little things in life that hurts. You can sit on top of a mountain, but you can't sit on top of a pin. So adjust accordingly. That's very true. Definitely don't want to sit on top of a pin.
Well, that's why it said that street level view versus that mountaintop view.
Yeah.
Like that street level view, you're just looking at everything directly in front of you, all the hustle, you know, everything crazy, chaotic going on. You're sitting up in that mountain view. It's a lot calmer. You can see things further out. You have a bigger picture, bigger scope of what's going on around you. It's kind of that hand in the face analogy you bring up a lot of times. Like you're not focused necessarily on everything right now. Like you're trying to look at the bigger picture and where does this fit in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah. And I also want to point out, so this is something I thought about when, why so serious and, getting, just basically feel like you're getting shit on and stuff like that when this stuff happens. I say this a lot. You guys being healthy is huge on this one, because a lot of the mental health, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to start any major debates on whatever the some serious mental health things. But a lot of it is sometimes when you don't have diagnosed issues, for example, you're gonna be sleep deprived, you're not eating right, you may be on a vacation, or if you're drinking too much and you're not sleeping enough and you're not working out, you're not exercising, you're not doing all this stuff. This is when the little things do start piling up on top of you, because you don't know how to handle it. You're chemically imbalanced at that point. You haven't rested, so your reactions to a lot of the smaller things, and they can be the big things too. You know what I mean? It can be a job loss. It can be a breakup. It can be something like, you lose your wallet, whatever, because sometimes if you lose your wallet and your bank or your credit card company does not reimburse you, that can now just snowball into, well, we can't pay this. We can't pay this month. We've got to actually now we've got to strategize a different way so that we can actually, because that was a good chunk of money that was going to pay the next several months' bills. Because how much was it that they ended up running up that you had to get reimbursed?
So by the time I got the card shut down, it was pushing up to $4,000.
Yeah. So $4,000 for most people is basically that's going to ruin your next 6 months of budgeting. Honest. I mean, that's just how it works. You know what I mean? And if you do have savings, it's going to just eat away at savings unnecessarily, and that's going to cause more stress. So I think that's a big part of it, is that, the stress and everything else, if you can't stay on top of it, you can't get ahead of it by saying, all right, I need to sleep, but I can't sleep. So now how do I get to sleep? And I know when I was stressed in the, in the last 6 months or whatever, especially, and even before that, I was even one that, the only way I could fall asleep is if I stayed up later and made myself tired, or I had one too many drinks just so I could fall asleep. And then I get back at it the next day and I do enough caffeine to get me through there. And then I've talked about on here before, is that you get in that cycle, and then people are doing the same thing with the way they eat, right? So then it's like, they eat because they're unhappy type thing. And then they overload their body with whatever the shit they put in it to feel good for 5 minutes. And then they have to recover from that. So if you're constantly in this state of these surges of the high ups of things, and then the very lows, you're never going to be able to handle, in my opinion, and again, not being an expert, you're never going to be able to handle the everyday stresses. And that's when the everyday stresses turn into more. And then we throw the shit on top of it, like you see on the news if you follow it. If you follow it up with trying to have interactions with your personal relationships or your business relationships, or just even interactions with people on the fucking street, now all of a sudden it's like you take everything the wrong way. And that's where this whole thing of why so serious can be something that you need to almost, if someone's telling you that, hey, what's wrong, or they're asking you what's wrong, they're telling you like, hey, you're not quite yourself. Hopefully you can even diagnose that yourself, that I am not myself. How do I get back ahead of it? You might need to reach out to people. You might need to say, do this kind of reflection thing of like, am I sleeping enough? Am I eating correctly? Am I on my normal exercise routine? Whatever it might be. And you're saying you're shaking your head no, Shannon.
I'm way off that routine.
Which routine?
Exercise. I've been eating better. I've been actually cleaned up my whole food, but I've been struggling to getting my ass back to the gym. I used to be a gym rat. I lived in the gym, but around 2016, 17, I just stepped out and just stepped away, and it's been a struggle to get back to it, man. I'll get in there and do a couple days, and then So I've been struggling with rebuilding a routine, because I am struggling with some of those things you just talked about, like sleeping.
Right.
I'm not irritable, but I just have very low energy. Like when I came in here, you're like, "What's up, man?" I was like, "I just
You have like 2 sips out of that iced coffee you have over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know. I feel like the last year for everybody was a grind for sure. And there's ways to get around that and get in the gym, do some healthy things. But
yeah,
like I look at my wife, she's up at 5 a.m. every day, goes downstairs, does her yoga, does her workout, comes back upstairs. We have a little reading room. She goes there and does some readings. And then she's like killing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still laying in bed with the dog, like, hey. So
maybe you need to join in one of those yoga sessions.
I do, and we talk about it. And she doesn't pressure me about anything. She knows, but I don't know. That is an area in my life right now that I have been toiling over, and I don't have an answer for it right now.
Well, it's kind of like what I had alluded to earlier when we were first doing the introduction. Like, it is so much easier to get out of a habit.
Oh, yeah.
And then out of the habit becomes the habit, and it becomes more difficult to get back in the positive habit.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the same thing that you've been talking about.
Well, I noticed that, and I mean, I'm not going to talk bad about anything, but I noticed that, personally, I saw it happen, and I know it happened a lot back at this time last year when the gyms were shut down. A lot of this stuff where like some of us that were still in, and Sean wants to say something as well. I want to get to him. But I was fortunate enough to be needed to a point to keep leaving the house and going to do some resemblance of a day-to-day work thing. And then I was dedicated to a point where I was working out in the basement with very little equipment, but I was still doing it. And I saw it personally, and I know of so many other people that they were forced out of their routine and forced out of exercise. And it's like their only options were maybe to go running or to walk or to do whatever, like yoga and stuff like that. But if that wasn't the norm, then it was a struggle, and it threw people off on top of the catastrophic messages that were coming across on a day-to-day basis on all media platforms and on your phones and everything else. So it's very important to be able to make the best of a situation. Like Shannon's saying, is it's got to be something that you have to be able to adapt to a point. Like when you lost your wallet, it's like, well, I can either just get stuck in this moment and the next several days on this vacation are ruined, because that's all I'm thinking about until I get back home. Because I've been on vacations where something like that has happened for one of the people that are on it in our group, and you're just pep talking. I'm like, come on, it's okay. Like there's nothing you can do now. Like you cancel everything. Like it's going to be all right. And you have to really do that. But if you can do it yourself, it's one thing.
So during the shutdown, when the tinderbox wasn't open, you were still going in doing like mail orders and stuff like that. You were in there for a few hours.
Right.
What was it about that kept that sense of normalcy, even though you weren't working anywhere near the number of hours you were?
Different hours.
But why did it help you so much, even though it was completely different? It wasn't the norm. what do you think it was that made that still beneficial?
It was simply adapting, and it was still staying active. I didn't feel like I was. Once we were able to adapt to a point, I was actually probably not necessarily being in the shop as many hours, but I between going to the shop, between running around town, and then also being available for customers to come by the house, and then also the entire time, and even in the evenings more than I normally am now, I was monitoring on my phone, sitting in the living room trying to watch, movies with my now ex and everything else. I was just on my phone, and she would say, like, are you ever going to get off that thing? I was like that now, tied to the phone corporate person, that I was constantly monitoring 4 Instagram accounts, 4 Facebook accounts, and also my personal email, and also the Tinderbox email. And so now it was a constant thing of trying to note down so that I could go into the shop the next day and do it all over again. So it was a sense of not normalcy, but it was a sense of being needed and keeping busy, where other people were unfortunately in the other side of that boat, which were they are forced to just stay home and collect money and not and be helpless.
Well, I appreciate you being my neighborhood cigar pusher.
Man, I tell you what, come by the drug house anytime. Sean, what do you got?
I'm your pusher, baby.
First one's always free.
I'm Shannon. I'm just going off what Shannon said. I'm right with you, man. I'm at a point where I've kind of fallen off that wagon as well, and it just spirals. It turns into depression, and then it turns into you go to your comfort. My comfort's food, So I'm starting to eat like shit again, and I work at a place where I'm very physically active and I'm lifting boxes and shit, but I'm not feeling as good as I used to. And it's I talked to my wife about it, and I was like, yeah, I should be doing this and I should be doing it. And she's like, see, that's where you're wrong. You shouldn't don't say should or shouldn't. That can get you in trouble because you need to want to do it. It's kind of like, I almost like a comparison, like people go to church. They should go to church. And I just go to church because I should. No, you want to go, or whatever it is you want to do. You want to have a drive to do that.
Why should you? Right. That's the question is, why should you?
Yeah.
Because that'll force you to figure out, do you want to go, or is there a reason you're going and you don't want to go?
It's for me, the working out part is not the problem for me. Is like, because I'm doing that every day with work, at my job, but it's just the eating. It's just like trying to find something where I can eat and I'll consistently eat it. Where I'll go buy chicken and vegetables and shit, but then shit gets old, and I can't. I start to get overwhelmed with it, and it starts to spiral. So I'm kind of in that same freaking boat, dude.
Well,
so,
I will give you advice that helped me at one point, and that is, do you have a lot of snacks in the house?
Yeah.
Get them out.
Yep.
Or, for Teresa and Molly, just you're not, those are theirs.
Right.
I mean, I've had that recently. I've had some snacks that were in the house, and I even found myself not necessarily slipping into habits on a regular basis, but there's been some nights I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm kind of hungry, and I'll just this is here. It's going to go bad. I'll go ahead and just munch on it tonight while watching the TV show. Well, I did that in my 20s, and I was just killing a bag of chips every other night.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's my big problem right now.
Get them out. Seriously. I mean, if you have to, if you're not doing the shopping, if Teresa's doing the shopping, just say buy half. If they enjoy it, or if you enjoy it a little bit, you are your own. That's joking, about being your local pusher on cigars. If that's becoming a problem, and you have a humidor stocked full, but you're smoking them because you have more cigars at the house. Same thing with food. Like, just you gotta cut yourself off.
I've done that.
When you go to the store, you don't buy enough chips for the week that you think you need. You just buy half that. You buy less.
I've done that.
I mean, it's simply you remove the problem.
Yeah.
You have to get up out of the house and go to fast food or somewhere to go get something. And I bet you, I would put money on it that more often than not, you're gonna be like, that means I have to get up. I gotta get dressed. I gotta get in the car. I gotta drive there. I just won't eat it. You know what I mean? You take it away from it.
Yeah.
I've had times where my wife's bought candy or something, and don't get me wrong, I like candy, but she'll buy it. I'm like, why'd you buy this? She's like, well, because you like it. I'm like, yes, I do, but I don't want it in the house because if it's
There
in the
should be a
house,
thank you in there somewhere.
if it's in the house, I'm going to eat it and I don't need to eat this. Like, this is something I can do without. Like, she, every now and then, we might be sitting down. She's like, oh, after dinner, if you want, there's ice cream in the basement. I'm like, why? Why is there ice cream? I like ice cream. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But why'd you buy it? If you don't tell me, I don't know it's there, and I'm not tempted to eat it whatsoever.
Yeah.
On that, at my old job in aviation, we flew a lot of celebrities and stuff, and one was Ben Stiller, but his rule was never to have snacks on the plane. Like, we had to clean everything out because he knew that if it was on there, it would screw him up.
Turn into his pre-dodgeball.
Yeah, fucking Chuck Norris,
Fuck you, Chuck Norris. We got some people chiming in. It's like, Jenny says no chips at all. Ray says I'm not a snacker at all, but my vice is ice cream. So just like Steve said, I don't buy it. I mean, this is something. Jonathan Herring, I love his comment. He says my wife is the only snack in our house. That's
cute.
Yeah.
My vice is
young couple.
When shit hits the fan for me, just like in Cancun, when all that shit down with the wallet, my way to get out of my head and out of a funk is I just turn into what I do best, and that's love on
Cut
people.
hair?
No.
Start cutting random people's hair.
Hey, buddy, come by the pool. Meet me at the beach.
What are you doing with those scissors, sir?
So
Don't worry about it.
my way
I'm
to get out of a situation in my head is just start talking to people, just start having a good conversation. So in true Shannon fashion, I became the mayor of the party pool.
Yes.
So
I missed this trip now again.
yeah, so
I know that guy.
by the third day, my wife was walking with me over to the party pool, and I had my cigars with me. And I got 1 foot into the pool, and the 3 bartenders all yelled my name across the pool, like,
Love it.
Shannon. And I was like, oh, shit. And she looked at me and said, are you serious? I'm like, you know how I do it, baby. She just sat there and shook her head.
Love it.
Then the whole pool, everybody was partying in the pool. Everybody turned around and yelled my name. Shit. I just go out and have fun, man. Just, I don't let those little situations beat me down too much.
Do you guys have a picture of you like when you were unhealthy? Like if you were like talking about this with, like snacking too much and stuff like that. Do you have pictures of I have pictures of myself when I was definitely like another 40, 50 pounds heavier. Yeah. So not a bad one here. Let's see. Jenny says, and I'm going to take it to a step further. Put a picture of an unhealthy person on your bag of chips, candy, etc. That'll help keep that bag unopened. If you have them there already, put a picture of yourself on there.
Yeah.
Not just an unhealthy person. Put an unhealthy version of you on that bag of chips, and then you're going to think twice. Or maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times, maybe a couple chips in, but you're going to think about it. You know what I mean? Like have it staring at you as you're like eating these chips. I mean, it's probably some sick, twisted things up in your head if you're like staring at yourself on that bag of chips, but you might eat less.
Have you seen that? Have you
crying into your chips? I didn't know I had salt and vinegar. No, those are your tears.
Have you seen that picture of Have you seen that picture of Russell Crowe lately?
Oh gosh,
no.
From Gladiator to what he's like 300 pounds right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some rough years.
Yeah, Will Smith posted that picture of him the other day. He's wearing a pair of short shorts and he's wearing a zipped up jacket, but it's open, and he's got a belly on him. And he posts the picture and goes, "I gotta admit, I'm in the worst shape of my life." And
hopefully, it's for a role.
No, I don't think it is.
That's not good. That's not good.
But then some people are like, "Yeah, you're still Will Smith, so like you're good." Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, he could take care of that in a month if he wanted to.
Well, I know I eat out too often, but I will say that it was a strategy when I did lose a lot of weight, probably about 8 years ago or something like that, is that I just stopped buying the chips, stopped buying all that stuff. Partly because of the laziness, I didn't want to go buy all that stuff, but it was also, I realized there was a period where I just didn't get that, and then once I ran out of stuff, I'd be hungry, and then I was like, well, that whole thing. That was from personal experience. Like, well, I don't want to go get dressed, get in the car, go get this stuff and everything like that. I mean, so it is a way of transitioning and working on the mental discipline so that you can be because it doesn't bring you joy, right? Doing that stuff. So this, the topic tonight being why so serious. I mean, this is something that this is a mental and physical exercise to a point that it will hopefully get you back on track, right? I mean, that's the whole goal here, is to do that. So if that's what you're struggling with, and as Nate said, it's very, very difficult to get back into a habit or a hobby, and that's what Shannon's talking about, is the exercise part of it. And this all came from me mentioning the fact that a lot of the times when you get overwhelmed with the stress and all of a sudden you get more serious, you get more depressed, you get more anxiety, and all this stuff, is something changed. And it's not always the thing that you think changed. I'm of that opinion. It's not because outside factors or someone in your life or a boss or a loved one or a significant other is causing this stress. It's these outside factors, and all of a sudden that's when the quicksand starts really hitting you. And then when you try to push yourself, well, I won't eat as much, I won't eat as many snacks like Sean, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna do something. And then weeks pass and you're still not in that mindset, and you doesn't take long to reflect, be like, I haven't gone to the gym. You ate a half bag of chips last night, and literally you wake up in the morning, you regret it. Now all of a sudden I didn't mean you last night, but Sean says, no, but I did last night.
It was me.
It was me. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So earlier you were talking about how, some people might wait until like they hit that breaking point before they start dealing with it. Why do you think that? Why do people wait until that? Do you think?
Say it again.
Why do you think people they wait until their breaking point before they actually realize that there's a problem, or to actually start doing something about it?
Shannon, you seem like you want to say something there.
I don't know. I think people usually make that change at that moment because there's nowhere else to go. You're at rock bottom, and the only way out of the hole is to start digging up, making little steps, carving out a step to get out of that hole, another step, another step. There's a meme that goes around. I see it every once in a while. It shows two guys in a hole. In each hole, there's a rock. The one guy's sitting there all balled up, crying, and the guy in the next hole over is taking that rock and making those steps to get out of the hole.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot. I'm the dude with the rock that still hasn't started digging. And I'm trying.
So you know the strategy.
I know the strategy. I have all this knowledge about nutrition and working out. I mean, that's what I used to train people. That was my life for a long time. And I'm just sitting there. I'm not balled up, but I'm just looking at the hole with the rock in my hand. Like, when should I start digging?
Well, I think part of it too is that, you still have these weak moments, right? Like I'll still every once in a while. So my neighbor brought over from the old house, brought over this bag because we were talking about it, just messaging back and forth. There's this truffle salt thing, Smart Pop. It's supposed to be like 35 calories per cup, and then I look at the back, and per serving there's like 10% of your daily fat as well. So I mean, it's not healthy or whatever, but she brought it over, and I'm like staring at this bag, and I'm like, that's really nice of Julie to bring this over. And that was like the only snack I had in the house at the moment, and I was like, I'll try a little bit. And it had been a long time, and I crushed half that bag, and it's a big bag. It's a big, I think it was like 14 servings in there, and I had 7 or 8, maybe 9. I don't know. It's not done yet, but I got into it. So, well, what my point is that you have your weak moments, but hopefully you don't get back to that rock bottom where it's this like, the slippery slope type thing. You stay on top of it. Same thing like this week, on Sunday night, and then Monday's my day off, and I ended up doing day drinking with some friends, and I was like, well, I just completely wasted my Monday. And I had made a point in the last several months that, and some of you guys know this, Nate knows this, that I don't have this, a ton of whiskeys other than the ones we have out in the garage, because again, it was one of those things that I would sit down and slip into the old habit where it wasn't, I was like miserable and trying to like drink to get drunk, but it was like, I'd sit down and drink whiskey and watch a 2.5-hour movie and drink it like beer. And next thing you know, half a bottle or more is gone. And it's like, oh, now I'm hammered. And it wasn't a healthy habit. But at the same time, it wasn't because I was upset or anything like that. But then I'd wake up next morning, kind of like eating that half bag of chips or whatever. And I'd be like, I shouldn't have done that last night and all that stuff. And then it would happen again, days later, a week later. And it was just because I was bored, or whatever. I was like, I just in the house. So I've made a conscious effort to limit my availability in the house of things to drink, eat, things like that when I'm bored, because I think that happens a lot. And that has now refueled me to stay on top of it. Like today with the gym and everything like that you're talking about, normally I would have gone Sunday, Monday, maybe Tuesday. I went Sunday, didn't go Monday, didn't go Tuesday, and I squeezed in my normal Monday workout in between work and the podcast tonight. And so now I'm like going to have to push myself to just knock out the other 3 workouts this week between now and the end of the Saturday, and Saturday morning. So it's just this constant thing. It's a constant struggle. So it's okay to have that rock in your hand and have that plan, but you got to at least, even if you like start chipping away, using that metaphor, you start chipping away and you get up half that hole. And then all of a sudden you kind of like get tired or whatever. And you sit back down and you fall back down on the bottom of it. You still know how to get out. So I think that's something that you have to remember, that you can sometimes, you might fall back a couple steps or you might fall down a little bit further in the hole, but you made progress and hopefully you can get back out of it. You know the techniques. You just really have to push yourself. Or there is the other option of you can reach out to people for help.
Well,
no matter what it is.
What I've been thinking about is that's the importance of getting a better grasp and maintaining the highs and lows, because say your stress level, with work and everything going on in your life, like your stress level is constantly hovering at like an 8 or a 9, and then you take that week vacation. Well, then when you come back from work, okay, you're at a 7, 6, you're just a little bit less, but you're still up there. If you were taking that vacation, say when you were at a 5, then you come back and you're, at a 3, if you can do a better job at making the peaks and valleys less severe, then the slip ups aren't as severe as well.
Yeah.
Like if you fall back a couple steps, you're not falling all the way back down the bottom of the hole. You're still better than what that would have been. So like my problem, like with work stress is like last year, I didn't take vacation until October. I finally took time off. So I had everything going on for the entire year. And then I took a week off. Then I come back and it, within a week, I'm right back to where I was before.
Yeah.
And then, so like what I need to do a better job of is, spreading that out to where I don't let that stress level get that high.
Right.
And that way, when I do take that time off or I do that hobby or whatever I need to do to recenter myself, like I can enjoy that activity more. I can enjoy the vacation a little bit more. I can enjoy that hobby a little bit more. I'm not just taking that week off and then, still thinking about what I have to go back to.
Right. Sean?
All right, I'm going to be a little vulnerable here on it. It's something that
You're a trust tree right now.
It better be in a fucking trust tree.
Garage.
Teresa
No one's listening, don't worry.
Teresa and I...
You're just on the internet.
Yeah, just viral. Teresa and I were talking about all this earlier this week, and she brought up a good point about who I am and how the reason I am the way I am. And she said that I don't even realize it, but I guess I'm kind of codependent on what other people think about me or how people.
Very common, yeah.
And
we all have that.
And it's to a point like it affected my previous jobs and how people like the micromanaging CEOs let this shit get to me. But it also falls back into when I lose weight, I'll go to Teresa, have I lost any weight? Like I'm all worried about what people think and how I look, or hey, you've lost weight, and that's all for the wrong reasons. For me to be healthy and to lose weight and do all that, I know it's for the wrong reasons. I need to do it so I can just be healthy and live a longer life. But it's something that I guess I've always been that way, and she just kind of brought to light, and I felt and that just threw me in a bigger spiral of depression, because it's like I hate that I'm that way. With her, Teresa's like, I'm going to start eating better and maybe start walking and running because I just want to feel better. And my first thought is, I want to be recognized for losing weight. And I know that's the most shallow, fucked up thing.
So you simply want to be recognized for losing weight, not because you want to look better.
No, I want to look better too. I mean, that's part of the thing. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's just I never really realize that's what I'm like, but it's just kind of like that's who I am, I guess. It's in some aspect. I don't know. She just kind of brought it all came to a head, and I just kind of realized it, and I'm just trying to process it all still. So it just sucks. I don't know.
I think that I'll say this, and this may not make everyone happy, but I think that we went that's typical, right? That we went the wrong, not the wrong
Make
way.
us think.
No, I think that so for me, you know, a lot of times, you know, the whole working out and everything like that is because of I've now recognized the health benefits, the mental benefits, the physical side of it, that it's all connected, right? It's not just about, you know, when I was in high school, you know, I was skinny as shit. I was 145 pounds and, you know, was skinny. I was athletic enough, but it was like I just never was a big guy or anything like that. Then college came and I wanted to put on some muscle. I tried it a little bit in high school, and then it was after the fact. And then it went the other route where I gained too much weight in my, you know, mid to late 20s. And then I got back on track, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy people that, you know, noticing I lost weight and all that stuff. And now it's become something that if I'm not happy the way I look in the mirror, then that brings me either anxiety or just I'm upset, right? So that is a constant struggle, and that's one of the things that I have been able to tie in for me. If I think I look good in the mirror, I am mentally more clear and everything else. And it's not just because of the self-perception, that's part of it, but it's because I'm also, if I'm like that, I'm not doing the obsessive route where I'm not eating or anything like that, you know, so that I'm, you know, leaner and everything like that. I try to do it in a good way because I know the methods that work for my body and who I am. Now that worked differently at 30. It's working differently now at 40, but you have to do that. I think we went a different way in a lot of the society, is that when we were celebrating, you know, that, you know, big is beautiful. That's great as long as you're healthy, because that was where I'd always trip me up, is that people that were like, you know, I'm happy with who I am and everything. That's fantastic. But you looked at some of these role models in the popular culture and everything that were like saying that, you know, big is beautiful and everything. It is, as long as you're healthy. Finish that statement. You know, if you aren't like, yeah, you don't have a six pack, you're not like you don't look like a model and all that stuff. The sick part of the culture that was like, you have to be rail thin, or you have to be ripped, or you have to be like that. That a lot of those things, like growing up, you know, looking at all these, you know, the supplements and stuff like that. Most of those people that are in those ads and all that stuff, it's right before they compete or something like that, and they are absolutely unhealthy. Have you ever learned anything about like bodybuilding or any of those fitness types of things? To be stage ready, you are absolutely dehydrated. You might even pass out on stage. It is very unhealthy to look a certain way for most people. Also, saying and accepting that like big is beautiful and all that stuff, and trying to like make light of it and everything like that and be accepted. Absolutely, you shouldn't judge people on that. But on the same side, are you healthy? Because again, you can say it all you want and have this confidence about you, but if you're not healthy, you have other things working on the inside that are going to be bringing demons out, in my opinion. And that's where the snacking comes in. That's where the depression comes in from that type of stuff. I think Teresa may have called you out on that in a good way, but it's enough for you to have a self-reflection of, you also don't think that you're healthy as you should be.
Right.
Because you said that, and I feel like you kind of glanced over it, that you want to be doing this stuff so you can have a healthier, longer life. Yeah. But there's so many other benefits that come forward with that.
I know that all comes with it. I just, it was just like a hard pill to swallow, because it's just, you know, it's been, I couldn't wrap my finger around it. She kind of, you know, I know it's going to help me down the road. It's just right now I'm still trying to process it and trying to make the right decision and do the right thing. So
yeah,
that's all. And you should share with Shane, your wife was competed.
Oh yeah.
She was miserable.
Yeah. So back in the day when I was always I was a gym rat, loved it, lived it, did it all. When I first started dating my wife, she always made fun of me because I'd always pack my meals. I'd have all my stuff. I'd take everything with me. she always made fun of me. And then a few years into the relationship, she wanted to start working out. And then I come home one day and she's got a little meal prep bag and she starts taking her food. And I start laughing at her. I'm like, I thought it was all stupid, you know. We laughed about it, but then she wanted to compete in figure. So we went through all the training. We trained. She ate. We got her on stage. In her first competition ever, she took third in the Masters division. And she competed a few more times, but then she started realizing that that world twists your skew of how you see the world and how people see you. And it messed her up mentally for quite a few years.
I believe it.
And it took a few years for her to get out of that mentality and just loving herself to be herself. And I don't know. I warned her about this because I never competed, but all my friends competed, and I saw what they went through and the mentality it took to get on stage. And like what you said earlier, when you look your best on the stage, you're absolutely at your worst health wise.
Yeah.
Dehydrated. My buddy Mike, he was competing and he went out for prelims, did all of his routine, walked off the stage, went behind the curtain and passed out. Boom, hit the deck.
Yeah.
They came over, they hit him with an IV to try to get water back into him, and his blood was coming out like jelly.
Mm.
So I mean, and then he made it to the main show, did that, and then the next day was in the hospital with kidney failure.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the shit's no joke. People go to the extremes to look like that on stage, and thank God he's healthy now. He's one of the top paramedics in Delaware right now, but he messed up. He gave himself type 2 diabetes, where he had to have like an insulin pump, and he messed his shit up.
Yeah.
Mike Brazil, he messed himself up big time. Yeah.
I want to throw up a comment here real quick from Victoria, who's a supporter here. Healthy still includes middle-aged thickening. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I think I wanted to throw that up there because basically like what you're saying, Shannon, you're like really kind of pushing that, is that there is that balance, right? I mean, life gets in the way. You're not, like I said, you don't have to be this fitness guru or competing all the time and stuff like that, because
you can go extreme either way.
Extremes either way. And I think so the middle-aged thickening or whatever it is, I mean, again, I thickened when I was in my 20s, and it was because I kept eating like I was 19 and moving furniture 70 hours a week. You know, I wasn't, anymore. And so I was sitting behind a desk, and it's one of those things that you have to find what works for you when you feel the best. And I keep saying it, that you have to get checked out, go to a doctor, do the blood test and all that stuff. Make sure that you're healthy otherwise, because if you're healthy and you're feeling good, fine. You don't, if you're good with the way your clothes fit, the way you're walking, your knees don't hurt and stuff like that. But you take it too far the other way, and that's where, I mean, again, the whole topic was why so serious, and here I am. But I mean, a lot of those things that besides the unfortunate ones were a lot of healthy people, and not saying the other ones weren't, but we saw what happened when there was something that was in a sense put into this world, like the COVID-19 thing, and the vast majority of people were either obviously older, or they were obese, or they were diabetic. And a lot of the people that are diabetic are things that life choices gave them that type of diabetes. So it's you have to watch it, you know what I mean? And I bring up and not trying to get serious. This is something that, again, like it's something that you should be on top of and try to enjoy life in a good way and make sure you can continue doing that. Like Sean said, longer, happier, healthier life is something where it's like my father, he was not active for very many years. He smoked 2 packs a day. He ate not the greatest, but he was in okay shape for a long time. But then he had a triple bypass at one point. And then, at some point, ultimately, he had heart issues at the anymore young age of 72. And, when I remember getting that call, it was something that it was like, I was very upset, obviously, but it wasn't like this major shock like some people that passed away where you're like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, he was so healthy. It was like, obviously it was terrible, and it was very sad, and it was tough on the family and all that stuff because it was unexpected. But I don't think anyone, including my family, were just like 100% surprised that he unfortunately had passed like he
Yeah.
did. So that's those types of things where it's like it's the extremes that you really have to stay on that path. If you go too far the one way, get yourself back on. You're obsessed. You're going too far that way. The other way, you're not concerned at all, and you're just letting life go.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about this whole topic, and probably gonna get a little serious here, but
Why so serious?
why so serious?
Got it.
So I
Probably-
started thinking about why I kind of went the other way. So in the 2016, so I've been thinking about this. 2016 is the year that I finally let all the shit that bothered me and propelled my life forward. I went to the extreme with everything. So tiny backstory, I was adopted. And I found out I was adopted, and that drove me to the extremes of everything. I had to be the best at everything because I didn't know why I was adopted at that point. I knew I was giving up, and I couldn't understand why. So to make that not happen again, I wanted to be the best, right?
Mhm.
So everything I did, sports, you name it, I dove in head first. I had to be the top dog. I had to win it all. And that was the same way when I got into the world of bodybuilding and fitness. That was my life. Like I had to look good. I had to be this, that, and blah, blah, blah. 2016 is when I came to the realization of why my life was going down that path. And when I finally got a hold of my parents, we had this big talk, and I did the whole big forgiveness thing, and we talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. Which episode number that was? But you
Yeah,
shared a
so
lot. That was a great episode.
I feel like that year, 2016, when I let all that craziness out of my life, I've kind of went to the other end now, where I don't care about certain things. I don't get worked up over things anymore, but there has to be a point where I have to find that balance.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I've been struggling these last, 4 or 5 years of trying to find a balance of it's okay to be doing this and doing that. And I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking about all that
Well,
while you guys were talking.
There's a self-realization. I mean, there's, we got Victoria, we got Janny out there that, and Ian's chiming in. I mean, it is perspective, and it's a self-realization is that, and that's kind of what I was trying to get to a little bit, is that you can't let yourself go too far one way or the other, but there is a sense of effort there.
Yeah.
So, if you feel like you're in the process of mastering, not, and people always make that joke, or at least, at the cigar shop, sometimes it's like, I don't care what they say about you. You're a pretty good dude. You know what I mean? Like jokingly. And my response lately in the last couple of years has been, they're like, I don't care what people say. I was like, neither do I. And they always laugh. And it's like, because it's like at some point it's like, yeah, I do care, but it's all in perspective, right? And that's a joking matter. But there's a point of it is that you have to, if you feel like you're healthy and you are healthy, but you're not a fitness model, and you're also not, going to be running a marathon anytime soon. You don't have these goals in life where it comes to fitness. You just have to be healthy. And like Sean was saying about the snacking thing, and there's, other people out there, like if you exercise too much, that was one of the things I realized recently in the last couple of weeks. It took me that long that there was some times that I got so not obsessed, but just so dedicated that because I wasn't sleeping well, because of the way things that, my life had taken a couple turns there where I was like, all right, so now I'm not sleeping. So I might as well get up. I might as well go work out. I might as well go take this walk and everything like that. Well, now that it's starting to come back into focus and balance, there's been some mornings where it's like, you know what? I actually could use an extra hour of sleep because last night I didn't sleep as well. And if I go push myself and I keep this going for weeks on end or months on end, now I'm going to not that obsessive route of like, fitness competing or the other way, but it's like there's got to be, you learn how you feel and what makes you, am I feeling run down during the days? Am I not sleeping well at night because I'm just pushing myself too hard? And then I wake up in the morning, I do it all over again. Because then it is that why so serious. Like sometimes it's like, you know what, I'm going to skip the workout this morning. I'll hit it up tomorrow. But you have to do that. You can't slip down the other way, which is what you guys have talked about, that it's hard to do. And I realized that until I got in the gym this afternoon, and I felt very good, and I'm ready to go back very soon to do the next workout.
I wanted to segue because we've spent a lot of this part 2 so far talking about health and fitness. I wanted to segue and ask, like, what are some other areas in our lives do you think people take too serious? Outside of fitness. Outside of fitness, I know we've talked about work a little bit, so like outside
Work for sure.
Yeah.
Work for sure. Keeping up with the Joneses. Keeping up with your life checklist. You know where you think you should be. I'm one for sure that this is not where I'm happy with my life, but at 40, I didn't think that I'd be, in the current situation I'm in every aspect of life. Because when I was, 18, 20, 25, whatever, I thought, I had a trajectory of life. So I think some people get so caught up in that they have to be hitting certain things, whatever it is. What's the next step? Do I, need to get the house? Do I need to get the dog? I need to get this. I need to get the job. I need to get the car. I need to get the apartment or the house, or whatever it might be. Like I think there's a lot of people take that so seriously. And I feel fortunate that, for me, that I have tried to fight that off in the more recent years, is that it's kind of like, well, yeah, I know where I want to be in 5 years, but there's a lot that can happen. And I know that from experience, not just recently, but in other aspects of life, like went through a divorce, didn't plan on that. That wasn't on the checklist. You know what I mean? Well, I'll go, we'll get the house, get married, and then, shortly thereafter that, we'll get my first divorce, and then, we'll move on from there. Let's say it's not on the checklist.
Put that on a resume.
Yeah, right. No, it's like, I'll work for a company for 10 years and I'll get fired. Like that's how this will work. But I think some people do take that very, very seriously, beyond just the motivation, because it's so serious that there's an obsession. And maybe that's a good point to bring that into it, is that when the goals and the motivation become an obsession, you're treading very, very deep waters there, that if that doesn't happen, you're going to sink very quickly and not be able to get back out.
Like my work mentality, like I'm not, if me and my wife, we're not, the keeping up with the Joneses type of people. I just want to, be able to provide for my family what I can, the best I can. But, that's kind of made me almost like a workaholic to an extent.
Right.
Because I've been working 2 jobs for the last 7 years. For the last 7 years, I've always had 2 jobs, and there were times where that meant no days off. There's times where that means 1 day off in a week. And that can have a negative impact on social get-togethers as well, because then I have to try and schedule, times I hang out with friends or family to whatever that day is, and that may not be the same day that they have off.
Yeah.
And because of that, then that means I don't spend as much time with friends and family that I want to. So, I'm excelling in one area, but at the sacrifice of others. I know that's, a big struggle for me. But like I said, it's not the money thing, because if money was the factor, then I'd go do something else.
Yeah.
I like the jobs that I do have. It's just, because we were in a negative such a bad negative situation 8 years ago. For the last 7 years, I've been like, I don't want to be in that situation again. So I'm just gonna work like no one else now, so that way later on I don't have to work like everyone else.
Yeah.
Trying to sacrifice the now for the later.
Victoria says, Nate, don't confuse work ethic with workaholic. Truth is, you would do your second job for free, which is the cigar industry. Dude, you wouldn't necessarily have to be there, but if you were sitting in a cigar shop and someone asked you your opinion, you'd be like, let me show you this.
I did that on my days off when I was a cigar rep.
Yeah.
I did that on my days off. When I was a cigar rep, I'd leave the house Monday morning, usually come home Friday night. Then on Saturday, wake up, and my wife's like,
cigar rep for?
I'm not saying it, Shannon. Not saying.
Drink.
But and we ain't playing that game. But no, so Saturday morning, we'd get up, eat breakfast. My wife's like, "Hey, what do you want to get? What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I want to go hang out at Tinderbox." And so we'd go to Easton. She'd go walking around shopping. I'd go hang out at the cigar shop, and I'm just sitting down, smoking cigars with the guys, not working. But then, if someone came in and was asking questions about a cigar that I happen to represent, some of the staff members like, "Oh, by the way, I got the rep in here."
Yeah.
And he'll tell you all about it. But I even told you guys, like, "Hey, while I'm hanging out here today, someone wants to buy a few of my cigars, I'll chip one in." And so I wasn't necessarily getting paid to be there on a Saturday. It was just something I'd love to do. But I was spending so much of my time in cigar shops. You would think the last thing I would want to do on my day off is hang out in the cigar shop.
That's what you want to do on vacation too, though, by the way, just a side note.
That's true. But it's not because of the work aspect of it. Like if I went on vacation and was hanging out in a cigar shop, I ain't helping anybody with anything. I just want to sit there, relax, and have a cigar. And that's one of the best places and safest ways I know how to do that, because I know I'm not gonna, like, for me, it's a lot better to hang out in a cigar shop all day than it is to hang out at a bar all day. I would rather hang out at a cigar shop.
Yeah,
that's gonna get me in less trouble.
Well,
there's some other ones thrown out there though. Politics, religion, those were huge this last year. Money, material goods. And Victoria says you came in with nothing, you leave with nothing. Enjoy life adventures. I love that.
For me, it was keeping up with the Joneses. Just from my background growing up, never having shit. So that was me, man. My life was getting something. Like, I would focus in on it and get it. But 3 months, 6 months down the road, on to the next. And that drove my life, man. I always had to have something because I never had anything.
Yeah.
So I would work, kill myself, deal, make it happen. I would get it. Then it wasn't fun anymore. And I was on to the next and on to the next.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like a kid at Christmas, you know what I mean? It's you get a toy and you're happy with it for 5 minutes, and then you're like, what's next?
Right.
Yeah.
Parents are
right.
Like,
and that drove me, and it
money on that thing, and
it put me in such bad spots, and I was just so young and naive, and it took me a lot longer in life to mature to where I'm at right now. I mean, my 20s were a disaster financially.
Building blocks.
Let's
Learning
look at it positively.
Right. It wasn't until, so I'm 45 now. It wasn't until maybe 35 that I really got a grasp on life and things that I wanted that actually mattered and, enhanced my life. And it was stuff I wanted to keep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially my wife. Hey.
Done well so far.
Hopefully she still wants me to, but
I think you're good for at least now.
Yeah.
Got to keep working at it.
Give it 5 more years, see what happens.
I think that's part of it, though. I was the same way. A lot of people are. You get caught up in it, right? You caught up in wanting nice things and stuff like that. A lot of people do. A lot of people in America. A lot of people come to America for that. That's pretty apparent. Anyone you talk to. DeSalin, who was on here a while back, he kind of alluded to that. This is a huge part of the reason why he made it here before his parents did. Now he's been able to create this great life, being here. I did the same thing. It was just, you hit these reset buttons and you realize at some point that all of it can be taken away. So that's one of those things. What are you willing to have taken away? Some of these material possessions or people like your wife. You want those people to want to stay in your life and they support you. And those are the things that I think the focus needs to be on. And sometimes again, going back to the topic, why so serious? Why would you be so serious about getting, the house unless it was to start raising a family someday? Not just to say, I own this house and I want to show it off. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people get into that. Same thing with cars and just every material possession. That was the really good one there, right? And that always takes money, or the American way now is it takes credit, which is a slippery slope because that can be taken away. I look at, so the neighborhood that I'm in, now is not the neighborhood I thought I'd be in growing up. You know, it's not a bad neighborhood. I love this neighborhood. It's something that I remember. I actually had a friend in high school that lived in this neighborhood, and I was like, wow, this is Westerville also. You know what I mean? Because it was the smaller houses. Like my house is, 1,200 some square feet. It's a ranch, 3-bedroom, nice house. But, I was raised in a bigger house, and it was, like double the size easy. And there's more than enough room. Like it was one of those houses that there's a living room that you don't go in the living room unless, you have people over. And even then it's got to be certain people over to go in the living room. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Don't play in the living room type of thing, because you have this room
And take
that
your
no
shoes
one
off.
fucking uses.
It's like that fancy box of cookies that you don't bring out unless you have guests over.
Right.
Like, why are we buying this and holding on to them? No, those are for guests. Like,
But what I've learned even like more recently is that the way, I've been telling people some stories about, the fact that like I have my neighbor come over and watch my dog or take the dog out on my long days at work. And then it's like I got another set of neighbors over here right across the street that there was a night where they were like, hey, come over, bring Tony, the dog, over, because I just got have them meet Roy, their dog. That's just a newer dog. And then so I'm over there. They have some friends over, and they're like, so how do you guys know each other? And I'm like, oh, he lives across the street. It's like, oh, like their friends are like, oh, that's really cool. You guys are friends? And I was like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, Ben and Kylie come over after they got home from hanging out with their 2 sons and stuff like that. And so now all of a sudden they're over and like, how do you guys know these guys? Well, they live next door. And they're like, how do I get on this street? Because they're like, this doesn't exist anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, is there a house for sale over here in this neighborhood? Because this doesn't exist anymore. And I think that's something that it's sad, but I did hear from a lot of people. We had a podcast not too long ago. I think it was one with Michael Herkloss.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, the front porch
people.
Yeah, the front
because
porch
before
neighbors.
it was the whole thing about, you hang out on your back porch, you want to get away from everything. Now it was people like sit on their front porch just so they could see someone. And they're waving, and like, hey, let me introduce myself. And so it was one of those things. It's I think it's something that what you think is really important, what you're saying, Shannon, maybe, is that at some point you realize that wasn't really all that important, because it is very, very short-sighted.
Yeah. My mom just invited you down to North Carolina to bring the dog and meet her dog.
I don't know. It's a long car ride for Tony. We'll work on it. I'm taking him a couple blocks at a time.
I think one aspect that people take too seriously in life is social media.
Well, I think that feeds into a lot of these other things we're talking about: fitness, health, politics.
Well, I not even that. I think people take their own opinion too seriously, and I think they take the opinion of other people too seriously.
Okay.
And so, like, one of the things that I've tried to do over the last several years is, like, I try not to share something that's not positive.
Yeah.
Because if I throw out something negative and say that offends someone, now that person's upset, and then the two of us are yelling back and forth at each other, doesn't do either one of us any good.
Right.
If I post something positive, that has a chance to have a positive impact on someone else. So, I also try to only interact with things either positively or interact with things that are positive.
Yeah.
Instead of sitting there trying to stoke the fire, like actually, make a positive comment about something. And if it's not something that's positive, I just keep scrolling. Like, okay, out of sight, out of mind. I'm not worrying about that because there's nothing I can do about it. You guys want to sit there and have a Facebook war about something? You guys go right ahead. I'm not going to let that have an impact on me. I'm going to stay over here and, like, hey, where I'm sitting at, I'm doing all right. Things are good. I don't want to get drawn in the middle of it. You guys can have your opinions. I got my opinion, but just because I have an opinion doesn't mean you need to hear it. Doesn't mean you care about it. Doesn't make my opinion right.
Yeah. Well, I think, people definitely take it too seriously. A lot of it. But I feel like it's giving people a voice, and sometimes it's what you do with that voice, right? And I go back to the description of what I put on this episode. And if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I think that's gone way to the wayside at this point. I'm going to say what I want. I joked about that a little bit, and I didn't try to make too light of it, but it's like, oh, it's 2020, or now it's 2021. You can't say that, but wait a second, you can say whatever you want.
I wore my 2020 shirt today.
I got a couple comments on that. Yeah, when the world hands you some BS, light it up.
Well, because I mean, what's that saying? It's like, take the positive out of it. Like there's it doesn't matter how good things are, there's always going to be some shit. Yeah. Whether it's around you, whether it's yours, there's always going to be shit out there, but you have the control to determine how much you let it affect you.
So, is there any situations that popped up in the last few months that you can think of? So we're on this topic of not taking things serious.
Yeah.
Oh.
Has somebody said something to you that you're like, kind of needled you a little bit? And how did you work around it without being a dick?
Ooh, that's tough for me.
For me,
I think you have a scenario here, Shannon.
I do. It just happened about a month ago. It's one of my clients. He came in. He's like one of those guys with no filter.
Yeah.
He just says whatever's on his mind. So above our barber stations, my shop owner got these cool ass like Simpson looking pictures of us.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome, right? They're like little characters of us, but it's made in like the Simpson. And I had spun him around. We're looking in the mirror, and I'm like detailing. And he looks up at it. And he goes, "Oh man, that looks pretty much like you, but they forgot to put the belly on it."
Okay, so here we are. It's been said.
It's been said, and I just kind of like paused for a minute. I literally paused. I looked up at it, and I looked at the back of his head, and like in my mind, I just wanted to give him the old stiff elbow, the Rock. You know what I mean?
Oh,
but
the people's elbow.
I said, yeah, just life imitating art. I just made some stupid comment and just kept pushing forward. But in my mind, I wanted to say, fuck you, get out of my chair before I break your neck.
Why did you want to say that?
Because I took it so fucking personal, because I know I'm out of shape.
There we go.
Yeah, like it hit the nerve. It hit the nerve.
He found that nerve.
It did. It hit the nerve. And I just was like, but I kept it professional. I kind of laughed and made some stupid joke, but inside I was a little bit raging.
So it's sometimes,
but but being professional, I had to navigate that situation because he's an every 2-week client that tips very nice. You know what I mean? But it was like that situation. Just he's like, "Oh, it looks just like you," but they forgot to put the belly, and I just was like, "Fuck my life."
So here's a funny thing here. Let me find it here. There was hang on.
I was going to talk while you were finding it, but you found it.
Yeah. Chaney was commenting, when we were talking about social media. Steve, people only say what they want behind a facade of anonymity, and they would not say it to someone's face.
Wrong.
Typically,
wrong.
No, I think overwhelmingly she's not wrong.
Correct.
And then there's this situation where it's not to his face; it's in the same room while he's cutting his hair. So,
but if that guy,
no, you're right. I agree. A lot of times in social media, that is, people. We talk about how communication is such a problem for most people. But you put a keyboard in front of them, and they're sitting looking at a monitor. Say it. They'll say everything.
People need to know what it's like to get punched in the mouth. And
Bobby Hirschman says such violence.
If that customer of yours, Shannon, was actually afraid that you would turn around and punch him in the mouth, he probably wouldn't have said it. But he's like, oh, this guy's not going to do anything because he might lose his job or won't pay him, won't tip him, whatever it is. So even though he's not anonymous, he knows that you're not going to risk your career to do what's going on inside your head.
But have any of you had a situation pop up, kind of not in that same realm, but just something that just made you stop and have to reevaluate what you normally say in the situation, or have to be professional, or anything?
I had something. It wasn't directed at me, but it rubbed me the wrong way, and it happened enough to where I actually felt the need to say something. Because building off what you were just talking about, there are some people that can entertain the people around them without it being at the expense of others. Then there are people that the only way they can get a laugh is at the expense of others.
Yeah.
And there was a customer who every time he was in, he was always making fun of anyone who was around him. But there was one person in particular that this guy just kept making fun of this person in front of everybody, trying to embarrass this person.
Mm.
And I remember, one day I was sitting at the table finishing my work, and I can hear all this going on, and my head is turning red because it's pissing me off. Even though none of this is directed at me, because I know what it's like to be bullied, and that's what this guy was doing.
Mm.
It was really pissing me off. And so then there was a few days later, the customer that was the butt of all the jokes came in. I was helping that customer out, and I can hear that person in the back still trying to egg this person on, trying to embarrass this person. And when I walked by, the person was sitting right next to the humidor. And as I opened the door to go get this other customer's cigars, this guy's calling that other person's name. I was like, why? You just want to make fun of him some more? And just went back, grabbed cigars, and that was it. Like I actually called the guy out because it was pissing me off so much. Like, you don't have to be the laugh of the crowd at the expense of other people. If that's the only way you can make people laugh at you, you need to find another joke.
All right.
You need to talk about something else if that's the only way you think people are going to like you and want to be around you. Because there's a lot of people that they don't like it and they don't want to be around you.
Yeah. For me, I can't really think of anything in particular. I mean, it's kind of like, simple things. I brought it up. I had a former roommate when I would, because I do like to drink. I like to hang out with people. I like to have a good time. And as long as I feel like it is responsible, or hopefully it is responsible, and it's getting, it's always, like I said, it's just like, with the snacking and everything else. Sometimes I do make an error in judgment where it's like, yeah, I had one too many. I probably shouldn't have driven, or I shouldn't have, I should have not had, whatever it might be. Monday ended up being, like I said, kind of a day drinking with some friends, and it was on a patio, and it was by my place of work. So the next day I came into the shop, and everyone kind of, not everyone, but some people were like, joking around, like, oh, you were having a good time yesterday and all this stuff. And that used to bother me a little bit because I'm like, oh shit, like, did I say something? Like, I remember it all, but I was like, did I say something inappropriate? Like do they have a point? And like anymore, it's like, no, I had my wits about me, and I can't change it. So it's like, if that's what you want to talk about. So I just joke back with him a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, I had a great time yesterday. And like, yeah, I saw that. I was like, yeah, I did. And then it's just kind of like, nice. You know what I mean? Like, before, you're just like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have like had that good of a time. I was like, no, I had a fucking great time, and everyone's fine. Everyone had a good time. You noticed I was having a good time. I was not necessarily my normal, calm and collective self. I was laughing more. I was having a good time. And like, that's what the point was.
Right.
So it seems very trivial, maybe even saying it to you guys, but it's like, that used to bother me.
No, if it bothers you, it bothers you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm looking in the comments. So yeah, I'm all about ball busting and having a good time, but that situation wasn't like joking. It wasn't a joking situation.
It was not coming from a place of love.
Yeah, it was just a weird comment for the situation we were in, and we were having like a different conversation about something, and
yeah,
it just came out of left field. And I'm all about ball busting and having a good time and having people beat me down with jokes. I love that kind of stuff, but that's just one of those moments where you're just like, what just happened?
Yeah, well, Bobby Hirsch says, has to be two-sided.
Yeah,
the ball busting.
Yeah,
right.
When you were asking us based off of your example, I actually recently also went the other way. So anyone at work that knows me, I know one of my channel managers, he may still be listening. People at work that know me know that, like, when things aren't working well, I get short-tempered, I get pissed off. I will call people out when things aren't working the way that they're supposed to be working. And over the last month, we've been dealing with the implementation of this new system. And day one, not everything was working. Not everything is still working to this point. They're still trying to fix problems and bugs in the system and everything. But one of the things that someone made a comment, like all this stuff that's been going on, like I've still tried to be positive about everything and just work through it. And in comments and stuff, on messaging and everything to our team, like I haven't been this, upset, crotchety old man on our group chat. I've been more that, just do the best you can, just roll with it. It's all we can do. Can't fix it. It's not our job to fix this. We can sit there and tell them what the problem is, but it's not our job to fix the problem. So just do the best you can. And in one of the meetings, my manager's like, what's going on with Nate? How come he's the positive one with all this stuff going on? Normally it's the other way around. What's going on that he's the one who's like, yeah, just roll with it. Like, because what's it going to accomplish if I sit there and I get pissed off and start yelling at everybody? Nothing. So if I sit there and start yelling, all it's going to do is make me mad. It's going to make me worse. Just screw it.
Bobby, I love you. And when I see you next time, I'll punch you in the gut.
Bobby, I'm gonna say it.
My channel manager is still watching.
He's listening. And then Bobby Hirschman says, by the way, Shannon, you're fat. Can't wait to visit. And yeah, Victoria, we are still on tequila. I gotta ask.
I do have a whiskey if we wanted to switch.
Probably shouldn't.
Okay.
Not on air. What's the point of being serious all the time? And Nate, that's to you, because you just in that story, and you were called out on it in a sense.
Yeah.
You called yourself on it. I'm not the crotchety old man, which you're not an old man. You might be crotchety. But what is it? I mean, what's the purpose? I mean, there's, again, motivated, focused, driven, all that. Absolutely. And serious to a point, but serious in a negative way, or always calling someone out. Not this is not just directed at you, but based on your story, right? And I think that's what I have seen, in all these topics that we've talked about. We had some, with the politics, religion, the money, material things. It's like, these are the things that we all know, especially as we get older, that this is something that gets people into trouble. If that's the only focus, then there's no balance. If all you are worried about is pushing your agenda or your opinion on other people in the hopes that you will flip them or you'll educate them, what are you enjoying? The wins? I mean, that's what it seems like, right? You get to that point when you say, you joke about it, the crotchety old man. There's a lot of crotchety old men in a matter of speaking. This is male, female, everything. You know what I mean? It's like just a lot of crotchety people in the last several years, especially in the last year.
When you have that mentality of always being the one to point out the problems and focus on the negative things, it's hard to enjoy the wins.
Yeah.
And so if all I did was focus on all the problems with everything that's going on at work, then it's going to have a negative impact on all the things that I can do well at work. So with my job, I know what I do well. I know what it is about me that helps me succeed and helps others around me succeed. And if all I do is focus on the negative, then, that can take away some of the wins from others, or they make it seem so fleeting. We're like, oh, cool, we got that one. All right, let's go back to this problem.
So the wins in that mentality, the same thing as material possessions or whatever we were talking about earlier with Shannon. That was my quick metaphor to the Christmas morning toys. As soon as you get your win, do you feel good? Maybe. For a second. Now you're looking for the next one.
Well, and like my channel manager is still commenting. I mentioned him I think it was 2 weeks ago. I was talking about him when Jake was on.
Yeah.
And he has this work mentality. He gets a lot of wins but he's always looking for the next one. Like he's glad we got a win, but then he wants to get another win. He wants to get another win. But at the same time, when we lose, he doesn't focus on the loss.
So yeah, that's like a sports mentality, right?
Yeah. So, you know, in
that's different than proving people wrong or making them think like you.
Like in our industry, like, you know, most people would consider it to be a good year if they had a win-loss of, you know, 10 to 15% wins. Like that'd be considered.
Oh, in your industry, I was like, yeah.
In our industry, 10 to 15% win rate would actually be pretty good. Last year he had a 27.5.
This is a close rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like actually getting a contract deal signed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Which is great. You know, so but you still think about it, like, even though that's above average, like you still didn't win the majority of them. But he also knows it's a numbers game. He's not going to win them all.
It's like a baseball stat at that point.
Yeah, but
batting 270. It's a good season.
He wants to get as many at bats as possible.
There you go.
Because he knows that if he gets more at bats, he's going to have more hits, and he's not the kind of salesperson that is looking for a home run every single time. He just wants to get a base hit.
Yep.
Because those base hits add up.
To do that, you got to get in the box.
Yeah.
All right. So I see a lot of positive comments that are, you know, coming full circle here, and that's kind of what I want. You know, Victoria says life is joy one day at a time. Yeah, we'll go to closing remarks. I think this is something that, again, the topic for part 2 is why so serious. And there's a time and a place to be serious. There's a time and a place to be driven and everything else. I mean, that's going to happen. But there's always a but. This is something that when people start talking about again, and they've been talking about the new norm and, you know, or getting back to normal and all that stuff, which is what I feel like the whole world's trying to do right now. This is something that it's not just about getting back out, but it's the fact that we all knew, I think, when you couldn't go to concerts, you couldn't go to games, you couldn't go to restaurants, you couldn't go to work, you couldn't do all this stuff. And everyone's like, oh, we'll just adapt. Okay, we can work from home and all that stuff. There are missing pieces. And I think that, you know, one of the things is that we were very, very serious, and it still is. Like I said, if you watch the news, and I do encourage a lot of people that have given up on the news, find the source that is as objective as you can find, that you don't feel is pushing one way or the other, including, and sometimes more importantly, not pushing the way that you feel like you naturally feel when it comes to politics, religion, social causes and stuff like that. Learn from all aspects of it. We talked about it not so long ago, that you want to follow, if you want to follow news or follow social media even, make sure there's a balance of both left, right, in between, not just talking about politics, but like, you know, one side or the other. And then there's you got to find the actual, not source, but you know what I mean? Like you take the good and the bad, and then you figure out what's actually the truth. You know, there's 3 sides to every story, right? That type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So closing remarks on, you know, why so serious? Shannon, go ahead.
Kind of like what you were just kind of saying about, in any situation you get into, you got to find the balance in the situation. Somebody, it might be more serious for that person. It's not serious for you, but you got to find that balance and maybe a little empathy with their situation, and vice versa. Your situation might be crazy and you're unloading on somebody and just like, so,
yeah.
And that might trigger you a little bit. But for me, my life has turned into balance. I've always tried to take a situation, and before I react to it, trying to figure out how serious it is, if it's going to impact me. If it's not, I let it go. I mean, prime example, we get to Cancun, I flip out because I'm missing cigars. I think I'm missing cigars. And they show up, life is good. And then the next day, I lose my wallet and everything in it in a taxi in Cancun. And I didn't even bat an eye at that. So you just got to go into every situation, weigh your options, weigh the seriousness of it, how it's going to impact your life and maybe the people around you, and I don't know, just take a roll call and search yourself before you actually maybe react to it. Sometimes you react out of emotion, and emotions are fleeting. They
Yes.
change constantly. And I know for the first half of my life, I was a very emotional driven person, and I've been able to dial that back and kind of have more of a level head in any situation I go into, and kind of weigh everything out, and then take the best road and best approach, and hopefully give the best advice I can.
Yeah, I think it comes with experience, and then hopefully you learn from people with experience.
Yeah.
I do want to throw up also Victoria's thing. I think this is if this isn't a T-shirt out there right now for those youngins out there, be kind, please rewind. I think that is a one blockbuster out there. I think still in
Oregon.
in Oregon, and many people don't remember that statement, but that's called paying it forward. Nate, how about you?
That used to be a lit Friday night. Go to Blockbuster, get the new movie that came out.
Get some snacks.
Get a bag of popcorn.
You have it at home, but you want to get that one because it has more butter than the one you actually got at home. Go back to snack.
Butter's everything.
Even though it's 5 times more expensive.
Just like the movies. Just like the movies.
Yeah. One of the phrases that had popped in my head earlier on in part 2, the straw that broke the camel's back. And what does that saying mean? It means that there was so much weight and so much burden on the camel that just the slightest thing broke it. It couldn't handle any more. And I think sometimes with us, we take so many things so seriously that all of a sudden the most minor inconvenience for many people, it just completely wrecks us, ruins us, puts us in a bad mood, and it just has this downward spiral.
Yeah.
And kind of like a snowball rolling down a hill. Like it starts out really small because that's what it was, but then it's just building up steam, and it just gets bigger and bigger. If you'd have stopped it earlier on, it wouldn't have been so big of a deal, but you just kept letting it go and go. You try to take on too much to where then all of a sudden this one little thing you couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
Because you let things get out of control. I think we have to do a better job of when little things come up, deal with things as they come up. Even the little things, deal with them as they come up. So that way, then even bigger issues or little issues don't have as much of a negative impact on us. Take the small wins, because just as much as a negative impact, can start that downward spiral. Something positive can go the other direction.
Right.
Like you can have a positive snowball effect if you take the little wins, because then you stop focusing on the negative ones. Like you deal with the negative, but it doesn't stop your progress. It may slow it down a little bit. It may hinder it, but it doesn't stop you because you've got momentum going in that direction. And sometimes it can help you be in a better place, whether it be mentally, physically, or whatever, to then deal with those negative situations.
Yeah. With a lot of things in life, and I do want to thank our sponsors, Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio, for the cigar, the Oliva V Melanio Maduro that we had in the first part. Also, Altadis USA, I'm smoking the Romeo Julieta 1875 Bully right now. And also BS Cigar Company. We got some golds and silvers as always. And then patreon.com/Bourbon BS podcast. We had a drawing tonight. Thank you, Jonathan Herring, for the over-the-year support now. And everyone else out there that helped us do this, for the StreamYard, that, of course, now it's streaming crystal clear after that first initial thing. So,
Well, you got this on here.
jeez,
Oh, sorry.
we didn't
Carry
need
on.
HD for that. No, I know a lot of people in life that, you know, it doesn't matter if you take things seriously in a negative way or you think it's a positive thing, it's a constructive thing. But if you lose the joy in life that some of the listeners and the viewers right now are mentioning, is you can't lose focus on the positive. You can't lose the fun, because if you're just concentrating, if you're only concentrating on the fact that it's like, even on like that keeping up with the Joneses, like that happy life, you got the big house, you got the nice house, you got the, you know, the picket fence, you got the 2.3 kids, you know what I mean? You got all that stuff going on, and then it's like you actually talk to them and you're like, how's everything going? It's like, fucking beat. Haven't slept much in the last several months, running the kids around.
I think we know someone like that.
I know a lot of people like that. No, I know a lot of people like that over the years, and it's not a bad life, but it's like you still got to find the fun. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, you're just going to run yourself ragged, and I think that you're going to sadly then find yourself anxious, stressed, depressed. And you're not going to know why, because everything on your checklist has worked out. You got everything you wanted, and it's still stressing you the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
It's because you haven't taken the vacations, or when you take the vacation, you come back from it, you need days off after the vacation, because all you did was run ragged on the vacation. Because you try to squeeze in everything in the last 5-7 days, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh my God, it was great. It was golfing and all that stuff, but now I'm back and I'm like even more stressed than I was before. So you got to slow down at some point and realize that, you know, whatever your goals are, whatever you want to grow in your life, the people you want to grow with in your life, that it's not just about surviving. That's where we get so serious, is that you're just trying to survive the everyday life. And you take, when something like, you know, whether it be what we experienced the last year, whether it's something that if we experience another, you know, war or shift in politics, or the housing market crashes again, or whatever it might be. You know, now it's like, oh, there's a gas shortage coming up, and oh my God, they're not producing any cars because of these chips. It's like, that's what this is all about. And you know, we had Janny said on there, you know, something like she doesn't drink or smoke, but she likes listening to this. It's like, you got to find an outlet, no matter what it is. You never know what the outlet's going to be. Is that it was a TV show, whether you watch like the same feel good movie for the 100th time, just because you want to decompress, that's okay. You just wasted, to some people, 2 hours of your life watching the same movie you watched before. Now, will you ever, by doing that, you know, run a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Maybe, maybe not. But do you feel better and you're ready for tomorrow? That's healthy. That's a healthy outlet. And I think that's a big part of this. And then I've been listening to all you guys. I've been watching the comments, you know, come in. I'm thinking about it all. And it's these healthy outlets. You got to find the healthy outlets so that you can not be serious all the time. And if you're struggling, that like it's been 7 days, a full week where you have not had a moment where you feel like you had a healthy outlet, whether it be exercise or eating healthy or even eating poorly, whether it be, you know, just sitting there by yourself, going on a walk, whatever it might be, you got to find it, because something about those exercises in life, you will start bringing it back to ground zero of, this isn't always serious. There are these joys in life that you really need to, when the big hurdles come in, or these you know, throws out of left field just throw you off, you can adapt, you can grow through it. And so that's my biggest thing, is why so serious, is that if you're always serious, or if you let whatever the situation in your life is overwhelming you, you got to take a step back. And sometimes it's a self-reflection. Sometimes it's, you know, you reach out to your sounding boards of people that are in your life and say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Because I am really overwhelmed right now. and I really don't know what to do with it. And then you have to also listen. And so you listen to yourself, you listen to other people, and you have to realize is the biggest thing is that I feel as though you have to realize that there are the joys in life, and that it's a good thing. No matter how bad it seems, it's still, you can find the good in everything. And I've been, whether you listen to music, whether you watch a movie, whether you watch that stand up, whether you just sit down, you smoke a cigar, you have a glass of tequila. If you want to celebrate a Cinco de Mayo with friends and have one too many margaritas, you do it in a safe way. Maybe plan the next day off of work if you need to. Don't compound the problems, but find out how you can actually just have a little bit of a reset and just really find the joy in life. So guys, with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and everything like that. And Shannon, thanks for joining us in the second part. Sean, thanks for being a part of the audience. And all you guys out there, great audience participation. Cheers. Happy Tequila Wednesday. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Cheers, guys. See you next week.